Hey, up cocker. I'm not ready. I'm still out. Doing some bits and pieces for the house. So obviously I've got Discord on mobile. So you're not safe from me. You're never safe from me. Well, it worked on me. I'm like, huh? Yeah, I'm just getting some bits and pieces for the house. Getting some more medicine for my mum's. Ooh, a birthday cake muffin. I might have to treat myself. The good thing is, I can also see the stream. I can, yeah. Oh, with the humidity and stuff. What do you think it is? You think? How? Okay, go on. Oh, really? That's okay. Well, it's good to know that something got sorted at least. But that seems really odd to me that that would be the case. I mean, I'm not a, a technology expert. I'd say I'm probably like an adept, if anything. Sure. Okay. Do you not have an extension? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, I've never gamed over a non-wired headset when I'm streaming. I only use the wireless one for Discord and for live streams, like, when we're on the panel and stuff. But when I used to run my games, like my video games, I always used wired. Oops. you know what? I don't have many issues with the dungeons in Skyrim, but if I did have one thing to say, it would be that they feel too big and not very populated. Like, there's some that are quite small and intimate, but there's some where you just, you don't come across anything for like rooms or corridors, and you're just like, what the fuck? Yeah, one of the issues that I had with it was obviously like between like, let's say the Dwemer. Oh, not again. Not again. I'm not talking to myself, Andy. I've already done that today.
Now try. Is that better? Can you hear me now on the stream? My mic is now showing as responding.
Okay. Well, you sound the same to me.
Okay. So I haven't come through on the stream yet at all.
I can check that for you.
Okay. That means that OBS is picking up my recording mic rather than my podcasting mic. That's what
Oh dear.
That's what that means. Let me have a little look, see if I can adjust this. Put that, no, put that one, no, not that one. Any of these? No. Is it picking me up any better when I lean forward here? Does it pick me up any
Yeah,
better now? Cool.
well, you sound louder to me.
But it's whether I'm coming through on the stream or not. Because Discord is using the correct mic, but is OBS the correct mic? I don't think so.
Still not picking up on the stream from what I can tell, but I can hear me.
Yeah, yeah, it's because it picks up a Discord window for you, so they hear what I hear in Discord.
What? So my audio is from a different source than yours, effectively.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right. So yours is a direct input, whereas mine is through OBS. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, mine is a direct input into OBS. Yours is through Discord into OBS.
Into OBS. Yeah.
Audio. Let's have a quick check. Audio.
I can hear you perfectly in Discord, John, but in the stream, it's like you're on the other side of the room from whatever.
Yeah, what it is.
Hi, Andy.
I'm
Yeah, it
pretty
is.
sure OBS is automatically picking up. Do I suddenly go louder now? There we go. I can see me going louder now.
I'll drop out of here because otherwise I can just hear you here. So
Yeah. This is my recording mic that I use for the videos. But the problem is, if I move at all, it doesn't pick up from any distance. It's a very close-in mic. Yeah, the problem is I can't use it while I'm playing. It's my sort of handheld, when I'm recording a script type thing, mic. It's much better than my podcasting mic. Yeah.
But why is it defaulted?
Because OBS is being a pain in the arse.
Huh.
This is my Audio Technica one. Right, I've got to try and get it so that the podcasting mic works through OBS. Bear with me.
I sent in a job application for a role in the NHS today, so keep your fingers crossed for me.
It's an audio capture, so hold on, let me try and do audio capture. Audio input capture. Okay. Device. HyperX Sonocast. Right. Hold on, just trying to get this sorted. Is that better? Is that picking me up now? Because it says on my audio input capture 2, it's working. That should be coming through okay. Thank you. Thank you. Goody, goody, goody. Right, let's move my recording mic out of the way. Right, so what's your job doing, Iman?
Is it working now? Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get at least an interview. It's for a data systems and information officer.
So basically, you're doing data input, making it's spreadsheets.
Yeah, but it's good. Hopefully, you know, if I do get the job, we'll be a level above than I've worked at before, which is good because now I'm in my 30s, I want to just step up a bit, you know.
Yeah.
Don't want to be on the bottom rung my whole life.
Having lived on that bottom rung, it's not as all crap. It's not as all it's cracked up to be.
And you know me, I can be quite egotistical, but I don't think I'm being that egotistical when I say that I know I'm meant for more than this.
Well, currently what you're doing is you're sat in a shed, not doing much with your days, apart from the honourable thing of looking after your mom, which is a good thing. But
yeah,
going forward, you do need some form of income. So, yeah.
I need a purpose in life as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll cross our fingers. Oh, is there no?
Just that you have that are able to be crossed.
Is there no video now? What?
Oh, don't say that.
Was there any video at all? Oh no. Should be on window capture. Okay. I don't need audio on that one. Oh, how annoying.
There's always fucking something in there.
There is, yeah. It's really, really frustrating that why can't OBS just keep the same settings? And why do I have to keep changing things? Okay, it's capturing my webcam. My screen. I had screen capture as one of these here, and that's just disappeared. That's just disappeared.
Oh, well, that's just helpful, isn't it?
Main display capture. Oh, hang on. Oh no! I know what it is. I know what it is. There we go.
Or?
Yes. While I was fiddling around earlier, I was testing different cables with the monitor, and I rejigged the monitor in Windows. So I've got to tell it that I'm using something else. So we should now be able to see it.
Here.
Yeah.
Why is this guy doing press-ups on the wall?
Well, this has been a great stream so far. What a professional streamer. What a professional streamer.
I tell you what, mate, we're nothing if not professional.
Nothing if not amateur. But no, I was tinkering around with my monitor settings earlier. It turned out I had an issue with one of the monitor cables, which wasn't allowing enough. Wasn't allowing my monitor to behave at the proper refresh rate.
Oh.
It was limiting it to about 60 hertz refresh.
What do you normally play at 120?
I've now got it set to 180.
180? Oh, look at you.
Yes. Yes. So.
Meanwhile, fucking Bloodborne stuff on 30 frames per second before thing. Honestly, it's one of my favourite games of all time. For fuck's sake, I wish it was in 60 FPS.
And when I was testing my racing game earlier, have a guess at how many frames per second I was running iRacing at.
240?
I set it to maximum graphics to see what it could do. Higher.
What? Higher than 300? Oh.
Yeah, it went over 350. So, it seems like things were being bottlenecked by the crap cable I had.
Do you know what? That actually does make sense because the connection and all of that is only going to be as good as the weakest link, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's no point having 4K TV if you don't have something that could actually.
Yeah. I'm glad I had a spare cable hanging around. But of course, I just didn't realise everything about the PC and the games have been so much better than every other PC I've ever had in the past. I never thought to look.
Well, I mean, it's fair to say that even though it is better than what you've had in the past, it doesn't mean it's the best that you could possibly get.
Yeah, of course.
Like, especially with technology and the way that things become obsolete pretty much as soon as they become a thing.
Yeah. So hopefully, I am hoping now that if I'm going to try my racing games tomorrow with a wired headset. But I was able to run it for about 2 hours earlier with no crashes. Having all I changed was the way the monitor's set up and the cable it's using. And it didn't crash for the full 2 hours, which is unusual for the way it's been recently. But this this keyboard dropping out thing is getting really annoying, because at the moment my keyboard isn't working, and it starts and stops and starts and stops, and I can't help but think this is to do with the fact that
the humidity's gotten to the internals.
No, well, no, I'm not sure. My piece, actually, I've had an idea. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. Right. Because another thing I've done this afternoon is I've put the PC on its side, so I laid it flat rather than had it stood up like a tower. And one thing that has actually meant is my little receiver for the keyboard is a little bit further away. So I've just moved it, turned the back of the PC towards where I'm sat. So let's see if that makes any difference. It's a wireless keyboard. So I know wireless can be affected by humidity and heat and stuff. I'll learn today.
Yeah, wireless gets affected more than wired stuff because it's got more holes.
Right. So, what have I got to do up here to get... Am I looking for something to trigger a bridge? Is one of these a bridge of some sort? Looks like there's something to the west. Have I got to go down there? Well, the keyboard has consistently worked. Keyboard has consistently worked since I moved the computer only about a foot. Twisted it slightly. So how do I get down here? Do I go? Is there a way through under there? Let's jump down and have a look. Oh no, it's gone again. Oh well. I was thinking I might have fixed it, but this doesn't look. Oh, it hasn't gone for very long this time. Okay. Starting to really annoy me. Keyboard only plays up in this game. Doesn't play up in anything else.
I'm wondering if you might have an issue with the modding then, or something.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, it is this way. I've let it go. It's working at the moment. Oh.
I knew I heard something. Teamwork right there.
And there we go, it stopped again. Ah. I'm hitting my W, A, S and D keys at the moment and nothing is happening. And my tab and nothing is happening. Mouse is fine. Maybe this stream was a really bad idea. Oh, there we are. We're alive again. Oh. Items. There was an iron claw. A claw. And we have those symbols: wolf at the bottom, eagle, and it looks like a dragon at the top. I'm just going to reset my keyboard actually. Just turn my keyboard off and turn it back on again. No, that's no good. Actually, it has. I had activated the console there, so might have been not as bad as I was making out. So, wolf was bottom, eagle was middle, drake was top. Yes, yes, yes. Gremlins. OBS was being annoying, but because I was messing around with the setup of my computer earlier, OBS was just picking up all the wrong stuff when I went in, which I didn't realise. But that's probably down to me.
Hello, John.
Hello. Hello.
I wasn't expecting you to be on this week, because I thought you were on Healy days.
No, it's 2 weeks I'm on holiday.
Oh, it's next. Oh, you.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm on holiday from the 15th to the 22nd.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my holiday started well, technically yesterday, because that was my last day of work. So I'm off 2 weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah, so, you know. Riveting combat. I can just imagine that every time the Durgar gets hit, until he got detected there, they would just say in their ancient Nordic language, "Oh, it must have been the wind."
Yes.
Like some.
They're coming for me. I want to hide again.
Too bad, because this isn't like D&D where you can just. Well, actually, no, it's harder to sneak in D&D because you have to like break line of sight and succeed a pretty difficult check.
I'm going to switch to my bow. Die! No, I missed. Die!
Do you know what the best thing about magical bows is that even if you miss the shot, it drains the enchantment. Which doesn't happen with melee weapons for some reason.
We have... Is this another one? Oh, there's the opaque vessel. That's 2 of the 3 vessels I've now got.
Yes, an opaque vessel that just looks like a regular potion. I know they're I could forgive like recycling assets in a game of a lower budget, but not one like Skyrim size. That just seems profoundly lazy.
We were just, me and Iman were just talking earlier about. I did say some of the dungeons just feel a bit samey.
Well, that's because they are. Like they're not handcrafted like Oblivion's were, because those ones were radically different. Even if there was some overlap in design and like assets were similar, the structure of the dungeons were all different because they were handcrafted. These ones seem kind of like, I don't remember how they did it, but they had like templates or something, and they were basically just copy and pasted, or they were like randomly generated. I don't know. They just didn't have, 16 times the craftsmanship. I know, just old man yells at clouds about how back in his day games were objectively better, because they were.
And you're not even an old man.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you Sonny Jim.
Oh, bloody hell, these youngsters. But anyway, no, yeah, I'm not even, like, well, to the Zoomers I am, because I have obtained Unk status. Once you're 30, you're an old man, apparently, to Zoomers and Alphas, which is
I
dumb.
obtained Unk status at 15.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But no, it's stupid, man. I don't consider people when they're old, like, they only start getting old until they're like 60.
Well, age is relative, right? I mean, when I was in high school, one of my friends said that his uncle still played games. He was 32, and I'm like, 32? God, that's so old.
No, but
now
I
I'm
never,
like, oh.
I never thought that, man. I always, throughout the entirety of my life, thought that, you were, you didn't get old. You might have been older before that, but you're not old until you're like 60, like basically retirement age. And I'm just like, it's always been weird to me.
I can tell you that no matter what your mind tells you, your body tells you the truth.
Oh yeah, yeah. And even my mind, just like, I used to be able to just I still can remember things very easily, but it's more long-term memory stuff. My immediate ability to rattle off and remember where I could follow the thought process far easier when I was like 10 years ago. Now I'm like, what was I talking about again? I don't know.
Wait, what were you talking about?
Exactly. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Yeah. But, with age comes
Well, I
wisdom.
think, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you kind of lose a bit of the sharpness, but it's not necessarily because you're not as sharp. It's just because you know more.
Yeah.
And so everything that you know takes a bit more time to get to.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of both. I do think it's a bit of both.
It just means your mind. Well, no, because once you reach like late 30s, early 40s, your mind has basically started to fully calcify. your ability to learn new information is hindered. Like your brain isn't as malleable as it used to be, and that's fine. It's why people, when they get older, are more set in their ways and become like, you know, that's old saying, people are conservative about that which they care about the most.
Yeah, I watched an 80-year-old boxing coach try and tell an Olympic medalist how to box, and I'm like, bro, who are you trying to argue with?
I missed one of the vessels in Valthoon.
Oh, well, Backtrack
Like, imagine
City.
having an Olympic medal in boxing, and then some old guys trying to teach you how to box. Like, no,
Yeah.
brother, no.
Yeah, it's like Backtrack City,
Yeah,
where the quests are dank
back.
and the rewards are
Do it
shitty.
again.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Uh,
singing Steely Dan. You were singing.
Guns N'
AC/DC.
Roses.
No, I thought it was AC/DC.
Paradise City's Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Oh
Paradise City.
yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
Burnout Paradise, bitch. Let's go. Such a good game.
What was the game?
Burnout Paradise.
I think I've actually heard of that one. I've heard of Burnout.
Yeah, Paradise
anyway,
City
but
was the theme tune, so.
Unk.
Actually,
And Halakar's talking about his use of the word unk.
Unk.
Like unqualified. Talk about in the military.
and that's our pun quota for the evening, folks. Nah, 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 nah.
No, it's Halakar. There's going to be more.
He's just.
Oh, I know there
getting
will be
started.
more. I know. I'm just saying his quota has been filled. I'm not saying he won't do more. You know.
As Albert Wesker would say, I'm just getting started.
No, as Mitch McConaughey would say, those are rookie numbers. Let's see here. Oh, what are the? I haven't looked at the comment section because I use the Brave browser.
That's brave of you. Haha.
Oh no! Hey, we lost IQ. Unfortunate.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, he'll probably be on in just a second. You might have just lost connection. There. See? Told you he'd be back.
I use Brave.
What was that? What was that IQ?
I also.
Yeah, it just if you want to watch YouTube without ads, just put on Brave browser.
Well, I have YouTube Premium anyway, but I use Brave just because of the lack of trackers and shit.
Oh yeah, I used it for that too, but the main reason is just so that
And then
don't get
when
bombarded.
I'm watching completely legal things, you know,
course.
it stops the ads from popping up.
Yep.
Isn't that right, John?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, we never know how to sail the seven seas here. Totally.
I haven't even got a
Once
boat.
a pirate is free, you are a pirate.
You're a pirate. Let's see here.
I haven't got a boat.
that-
I mean,
that's
I haven't,
how you-
I haven't even got a canoe, let alone a boat.
Exactly. I've never even like. What is the water?
Water? Water?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, two island nations the citizens don't know what water is. That checks out.
Water?
What? The water?
Water?
Wasser. Let's see here.
Ah, beer is the piss factor.
Or isn't it dihydrogen oxide or something? Isn't that
Dihydrogen monoxide.
dihydrogen monoxide? That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Basic. Let's see here. Unk and unsat are two things I never wanted to see in your military. If not trolling, those are yeah. Well, you know, the military has to shorten things because, you know, they have to shave off precious milliseconds. I'm not. I was starting as a joke, but like quite honestly, when you're in a firefight and you're radioing in for help, you kind of have to be pretty sharpish about it because you might get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I was being
That's
like
the original reason for the codes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sit rep situation report.
I once said that to one of my ex-girlfriends. I said, give me a sit rep. She goes, what?
Never mind. You just go, never mind. It's
I was
just
like, I just rephrased it. I'm like, what's the situation?
yeah.
Halakar, I have no idea what Axl Rose said the original lyrics for Paradise City were, but knowing him,
Oh, where the grass is green and they got big titties. I don't know where the girls are big
yeah.
titties or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just well, I was riffing off of like YouTubers I watch, Loading Ready Run. They do a lot of Magic the Gathering, and one of the
and the girls are pretty. The
well,
girls
she
have
well
big titties or something like that.
yeah, the girl in like they were playing Magic the Gathering, and she said, "Welcome to Top Deck City, where the cards are black and the draws are shitty." Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Won't you please let me go? Oh man. John, you didn't check for traps.
Oh no, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, fair. Well,
There's something I've got to prod or pull around here to open these routes
Well,
through.
to be fair, Skyrim traps are basically if the DM in a BX game or whatever went, haha, you spring the trap and you take 1 point of damage.
Yes.
It's literally it means nothing. Whereas in Oblivion, you can actually trigger traps and get like poison gas that if you're not fast enough can kill you really quickly. Like the traps are actually dangerous. Even experienced Oblivion players like myself, who know to watch out for these traps. If you're not paying attention and you're not looking for tripwires or pressure plates, you can trigger them.
Yeah.
And yeah. Now, if you're paying attention, you'll spot them, obviously. But if you're just like rushing through the dungeon and then, like, say you spotted it, forgot about it, killed all the bandits, and just wanted to get out of the dungeon fast, and then you trip the trap, and you trigger the trap, oopsie. Also, can I just say, am I the only one who thinks that there's like a degree of like cartoonishness to Skyrim? Like, what I mean is, like, look at how big and like rounded everything is. Is it just me?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's
John's got a
aesthetic.
mod pack on.
No. I'm not saying the Norse stuff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you, I'm talking about the base fit, because I do remember this vividly. IQ.
Yeah,
remember
Skyrim is quite cartoony.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's not just that it's cartoon. It's that the cartooniness is because it's bigger and almost fatter and rounder, right? Whereas Oblivion, things looked almost leaner. I can't analogize it any other way. But do you notice that?
I get you. In Oblivion, things were a bit more straight lined and rectangular.
Yeah, it's also the fact that the dungeons didn't feel so claustrophobic. And I get that these are burial mounds, so they have to be this. They were made this way in real life. I get that, but in Oblivion, they had like massive, like some of them like 50 feet tall cavern rooms. Like some of them were 100 feet. Realistically, they were big. The only one that I can think of in Skyrim is that do you know the where you get the Crimson Nirn route, IQ? You know the one I'm talking about with all the big glowing mushrooms and stuff.
I know that bit. I know that. I've been there.
That is the only dungeon I can think of where it looks massive, and even that, it still feels claustrophobic, and not in a good way. It just feels like restrained. I don't know. It just.
Well, I think the DLC dungeons were different. The base game dungeons definitely they were all that same sort of ceiling height. If that makes sense.
Oh, who hopped in there?
Nothing.
General Nuts just chiming in on there.
Nutty, question for you. Did you ever actually buy Fear and Hunger after looking into it?
Oh god, I've heard about this game.
Yeah, so Nutty was telling me that he likes, difficult games, and, well, that's just paraphrasing. And I was like, oh, have you heard of this game? It's supposedly one of the most brutal games ever created. And he looked into it, and he was like, okay, I'm interested.
I'm not seeing him in the chat. Maybe
the game is so hard that you have to have a 50-50 coin flip to see if you can successfully save your game or not.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, and if you get the wrong 50%, you have to do an enemy encounter instead.
Like, okay, there are games that make saving difficult, like Dark Souls, where it does autosaves, right? Resident Evil at higher difficulties requires that you have the ribbon for saving, so it's a limited resource, right? And you also
Oh, yeah, of course.
it also took up a slot in your inventory, which that was very precious. Like you could only have 6 to 8, depending on who you played and if you got the pouch. If you're playing Chris Redfield, at least I think you can. I haven't played Chris yet.
No, Chris is stuck on 6.
Is he really? That
Yeah,
sucks,
I did a knife.
man.
I did a knife only playthrough as Chris. It was actually quite
You,
fun.
sir, are far braver than I. But there's also Alien Isolation, where the game
Hey,
doesn't
when
pause.
I like a game, I
Mhm.
100% the fuck out of it as
Nice.
much as possible.
The only other one that I've played that I can remember that made saving kind of dangerous was Alien Isolation, where the game doesn't make you invincible or pause while you save. So in the middle
Yeah.
of your save, John, the xenomorph can attack and kill you.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, now
Oh,
I
that's
don't
it.
think it counts as I don't think it puts you in a death loop where that happens, where oh you
No, it
died and
doesn't.
no it doesn't. It just basically treats the save as void, and then you go back to the previous save. So yeah. Now
So-
if you
I mean, Alien
now,
Isolation is one of the few games that I would refuse to play.
I've played
Because
Alien.
I don't enjoy it because I don't like those types of horror games. Like
they're
like
overly-
Outlast, I refuse to play it.
I played Outlast. I've beaten it. It's not that impressive.
I tried, I couldn't.
I got through it. It's not that good. Like in hindsight, looking back on it, I've seen people like reviewers point this out. I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of dumb, you know. And once you've beat, it's not like Silent Hill where it's like this tension, this underlying dread, right? This one is just like very reliant on jump scares, and it's just not good.
Yeah, it's jump scares, shock factor, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Not what I look for in a horror game.
General nut plays games with permadeath.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Fear and Hunger. Nutty.
Yeah.
Please do
Where's
give
he?
it a
Where's
go.
he?
You know, if you have the
Where's
money
he?
and the time.
Where is he saying this? Because I'm not seeing him in the chat.
Set your chat from top chat to live chat. For some reason, he gets filtered out quite a lot.
Oh, there we go. All messages. There we go. There, I see him now. Cool. Thank you. I didn't know that feature was there.
YouTube doesn't like him or something. I'm not sure.
It must be. He must have offended YouTube. at some
YouTube just
point.
no. YouTube just doesn't like its users. It likes certain uploaders, but everyone else can go pound sand. You know. You know, it's like how certain game developers will cater to very vocal minority instead of the developers and the main customer base for some reason. You know, it would essentially be like, no, we as a restaurant are not going to appeal to our customers or our workers or our chefs. No, we're going to appeal to the critics.
We're gonna appeal to this one vegan dude who won't shut up.
Yeah, at least the critics will eat everything on the menu theoretically. The vegan, nah.
I can't find the last vessel in here. I need help finding the last vessel. This place is starting to annoy
Mom, the game is bullying me.
me. Yeah.
It won't give me my vessel. Mom.
Mom!
I've
Bloody
clearly
hell,
missed.
Mum.
I've clearly missed something.
Yeah.
Go away. Stop it.
Yeah, but I would say IQ that the game I would recommend for jump scares would probably be Dead Space. It's a very good game.
I've played a bit of it. It's okay.
Did you like Resident Evil 4?
Yes.
Yeah, it has similar combat to that one, so I would recommend that you play through. It is good.
Halakar would like
I
to know
don't
if
like
anyone
it.
plays
It's,
Shipbreaker. I have no idea what it is, but Halakar would like to know if you play Shipbreaker.
I've never heard of it.
Never heard of
No,
it.
I have no idea. I have no idea, Halakar.
But you were saying IQ?
It's not that I didn't like Dead Space. I actually really liked it. It's just certain type of atmosphere that I'm not really into.
That's fair. I like the
Like,
Lovecraft.
I'm surprised I enjoyed BioShock. Put it that way.
I think BioShock is heavily overrated. People like, jump the shaft on that one too much. They just ride it way too hard, and I just like, no. It's just
It's really good.
it's not
the
no,
twist
it's
is-
not it's not
once
really
the
good.
twist is there.
No,
It
even
is,
though
it is.
it's not. I'm just gonna
Right, explain to me why it's not, because I'd love to see what you have to say, because I doubt it's going to be any good reasoning.
I don't know, maybe it's just because I just don't like that kind of like FPS. I don't know, I just to be fair, I haven't
It's nothing
played
to
it.
do with the story.
Nah. To be fair, I don't think I've played it in a while. So I'll go back to it and see what it's like, but
Thank
Was
you
it
for
you-
reminding me that the
Game,
clairvoyant
you're not
spell
qualified
exists.
to comment on it.
yeah, that's fair.
It's one of the games where you have to play it through to the end to actually understand it, because something gets
Okay.
revealed at the end.
I know the reveal. I know. I think maybe maybe it's just I'm more
Maybe that's why you don't like it, because it got spoiled.
Yeah, or even just it's not even that. It's more so the philosophical wankery that's surrounding about like free will. It's just like, oh, the only real choice you have is not to play. And like any game, if you're telling me, it's like the same thing with Spec Ops: The Line, where unlike BioShock, to be fair, it didn't say this. The people who made Spec Ops: The
Where
Line
does it take
literally
you,
said, don't play our game. It's like, if you're telling me not to play your game, I'm not gonna play your game. Just
Yeah.
don't fucking waste my time. I played quite a bit of Spec Ops: The Line. I think I still have it. And I liked it at the time. Especially when I was like, I want to play a deep game, and I was like, if I played it now, I'd be like, this is the most pretentious wankery I've ever seen.
Yeah, I
It's
would agree
really
with you on that.
It's just no. But like,
There's,
I'd say the
there's
gameplay is
certain
solid.
types.
Yeah.
There's certain types of subversions that are acceptable. I think that was not acceptable.
No. I mean, it's largely
Just
again.
to give you an idea, John. Imagine a game where you think you're a war hero, and then it turns out actually that whole time you were being a war criminal.
Oh right.
Oh wait,
okay.
John, there's a spirit. There's a spirit behind you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Clairvoyant.
you talked to him.
Oh god, turn off my other quest to use it. Okay.
Yeah, weird.
I've already spoken
otherwise
to
it'll
him.
just direct you to the nearest exit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's-
the thing that tells you where to end the quest is having a spaz moment, because
It
but anyway,
reckons. No, it can't be this way. This is outside.
oh,
I don't want to go out.
Mom, I don't want to play outside. I want to play.
Now
my
it's
video
taking me back
game."
inside.
Go on, touch grass, nerd.
Truly, but no.
It's taking me to and from the door. That's all it's doing. It's taking me to
No,
and
that can't
from
be
the
right.
door.
Where are you? Are you in, what's it called?
Skyrim.
Valfoon.
It
Valfoon.
just works. It just works.
Valfoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First vessel is in a room with a Drauga Death Lord.
I think
Got
you
that
took.
one.
Yeah, we got that one. Yeah.
The second one is in the Voltoon Catacombs.
Yeah, got that
I
one.
wasn't there.
Entered by
I don't.
pulling a chain on a northern wall near the gate. You've got that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third one is situated in the final chamber behind a puzzle door requiring the Iron Claw.
Oh, I've got to go
that-
back there.
Yeah. Yeah, John. If you probably should have told us that you had an Iron Claw, because I would immediately have told you to
I've
go to the
already
Iron
done
Claw.
it. I was messing around my keyboard with the Iron Claw a bit.
Uh-huh. Anyway, yeah,
As
the
Ed,
I
as
think-
Ed would say from Ed, Ed and Eddie, only the claw knows.
I haven't seen Ed and Eddie in so long. what was
I
the
have no
context for
I
Ed
have no.
for Ed saying that IQ? What was the what were they talking about?
I can't remember the exact context, but it was something to do with Rolf. And they were all, I think they were all working for him, or they were in his barn or something.
Oh, was it the chicken or something that was dubbed the claw or something?
No, he was holding a hook in his sleeve to look like as though it looked like it replaced his hand.
Right.
There it is.
Right.
It's showing now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah,
I
I don't
hadn't
know.
turned the quest on.
That tends to help. Although to be fair, like, anyway, it doesn't matter.
I found it.
Yeah, it's like. But to be fair, a lot of modern even older players who play modern games a lot will get conditioned into relying on quest markers, which is really a shame. Yeah, let's see here. Oh, right, yeah, I think I've seen that one. It to be fair, I haven't seen Ed, Edd n Eddy in about 15, 20 years.
I have no idea what you're on about.
Shit.
It's an old
was
cartoon
actually
from Cartoon Network from like almost 2 decades ago.
90s. Yeah.
No, I think
Never
it
heard
ended
of
in like
Almost. It's modern. It was in the
no.
90s.
No, it wasn't in the 90s. That Ed, Edd n Eddy was in the 2000s.
No, it was in the 90s. And
Was
carried
it?
on till the 2000s. Yeah.
I've
Really?
never heard of it.
Yeah, it was in the experimental era of Cartoon Network, to be honest. It was a fun
It was
show.
one of their mainstays. It was.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was Ed, Edd n Eddy, Powerpuff Girls, and
Girls.
Johnny Bravo,
And don't forget
and
Dexter's
Cowardly Dog, and
Dex-
Dexter's Lab.
Lab was another one. Was Ren and Stimpy Nickelodeon, or I think it was Nickelodeon actually, now that I think about it.
I never watched it, so probably.
I didn't either. I only remember because I was watching a documentary on the
through
creator
there.
who was a massive creep, if you can
Do you
believe.
remember the Jackie Chan TV show?
Oh, I love Jackie Chan. I
Yeah,
love
man.
it. What's even great about it was that they even got the actual Jackie Chan to answer questions that obviously curated, but still it was
yeah.
cool. Oh man,
It wasn't even Jackie Chan that voiced the actual.
well, obviously
character.
because he probably didn't have the time. And it would be too
No,
expensive.
but the guy who did was so good that you thought it was.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, I love that show. That show was
Right.
so.
I need to find a way of getting through a portcullis. I know nothing about any
probably
Jackie
a
Chan
full
TV
chain.
shows.
Look for a chain with a hook.
I am
for a
looking
loop.
for it. I'm looking for it. I know nothing about a Jackie Chan TV
There,
show.
John, it's right. Turn to your right. Straight ahead. No, to your left. Straight ahead.
Oh, there! Oh, how was I supposed to see that?
What do you mean? It's freaking
John,
got
John,
candles all
John.
over.
John. I saw it, and I'm not playing the game.
I'm old with bad eyesight, so stop.
No.
it.
Actually,
Leave me
to
alone.
be fair, sometimes when you're not playing the game, you know.
That
it's
is
gonna
true.
be better.
That's fair. That is fair. But also, John, I wear glasses too, and I'm myopic.
I knew I
I'm
heard
short-sighted, so I've bad eyesight too.
I'm long-sighted and I've got tunnel vision.
That'll teach you.
Fair enough.
I only
And-
wear glasses when it's sunny or to make myself look extra nerdy.
Yeah,
There
fair
we
enough.
go.
At least you're not one of those tossers who wears glasses without lenses in them.
No, I wear blue light glasses when I'm staring at screens and stuff.
Oh, like my glasses are tinted with like things to protect from blue radiation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm talking about there's a
Other
guy
than
from
that, I don't wear
PBS. Yeah, there's a PBS presenter once from like 10 years ago, who I'm not joking, literally wore those big black, those thick stereotype nerd
I know the ones.
frames. Yeah, without the lenses in them.
What, on live air? Oh my
Yes, yes. In a video, no joke, like a filmer was responding to him, paused the video, and noticed, wait, he's not wearing lenses in his glasses.
Knobhead.
Like you're just. That is actually really fucked up, dude, to do shit like that.
God. Yeah, I think that's like super offensive. Yeah.
Yeah, legit, dude. People
Not
don't wear
offensive,
glasses.
insensitive.
Oh, this is a nerd. Oh, this is like a nerdy thing to do, so I wear glasses, so that I appear all smart and intellectual and intelligent and wise and well learned. But my eyeballs
Yeah,
are
it's
sort
like
of,
they think the lensless glasses will increase their IQ or something.
yeah, or no, because they think people are dumb enough to like most people wouldn't pay attention. One sec. Oh, sorry. I
People
thought
who
my
wear glasses would.
yeah. That's well. I mean, the guy who spotted it wasn't. I don't think he wears glasses all the time, or at all. I don't think. I don't think it's been a while since I've seen that vid, and it probably has been taken down since. But like, I distinctly remember. And then when he paused the video, I looked in because I didn't believe it. I didn't believe him. And then I looked close. I'm like, oh my lord, he's actually right. And I'm like, just yeah.
Oh my god, I saw a funny ass video on YouTube the other day. It was of a black news reporter, and he was like all posh and professional and stuff. And then a fly flew in his mouth and just, look at that shit! And he just like completely changed.
He broke character. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Oh,
I think
that's
it was
hilarious.
only funny because of like the sheer contrast. He was like, yes, and today, I don't, obviously it was American, but today on the
Yeah.
news, like blah blah blah. Look at that shit.
Yeah, he went from, we'll say, Berkeley to the Bronx in
To
like
Hood
5.
in like
yeah,
0.2
he went
seconds.
from Harvard to Hood in like 5 seconds. Funny. That's actually hilarious.
I was thinking of posting it, but I thought, I don't know, maybe that'll accidentally offend some people, or I don't know.
It might do. It might do. But to be honest, offence. I don't know. It's one of those things. Nobody has the
It's
right
like-
to not be offended.
Look, the thing
Like
is, this is
if
what people
I
do.
got really scared or pissed off and all of a sudden just started becoming extra northern, you know, it happens. It
Yeah.
happens.
Nobody
Or
has.
it's like when I get drunk, the Irish bro comes out. It's weird.
Oh my god.
I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I'm not. It's not as
No,
thick
no.
of a brogue.
When
Yeah, it's
Sophie,
just-
when Sophie drank, her Welsh accent came out.
Yeah, it's just this. It's just the sobriety is suppressing the inner Irish rage, and then when the drink starts flowing, modernity just washes away.
Right, let's see what Valdar wants us to do with these vessels. It took me bloody long enough to get them.
In life,
Yep.
Hevnorak drained his own blood from his body. His goal was to transfer his power back into himself after death,
Lich.
becoming a powerful lich.
Mm.
The vessels contain that very blood. Empty them, and you remove any chance he has of regaining his former powers.
Here, John. I'll give you 5 septims to drink it.
No, no.
Hey, John, that's the only reason I ever knew what a lich was, sort of. I'd never come
Dude.
across one ever before, until Skyrim.
Come on, John. Do it or no balls.
As general note, I mean, I don't go out of my way to offend people. But if I find somebody comes across to me as being a bit too
Prissy.
prissy, yeah, then I'll prod them.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. It's called hazing. This is what guys do.
Empty
And it's good for you. It's actually good for you to go through the fire a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree. But you
Unbind.
have to be a certain type of person to be able to
You will
withstand
awaken
that,
in a
you know?
weakened state.
Well, like the only way you're ever gonna like survive it is to go through it. That's the thing.
Be ready.
You know, I know people like
Well,
to
I
say,
mean,
"Oh, I'm
so-
not." I like look. I'll put it to you this way: I wasn't that type of person until I was in like a Discord where a lot of like hazing went on, and then it kind of just my brain almost broke, and then I realized, oh no, this is what you're supposed to do. Just grow a thicker skin and adapt. You know, it's why I stopped like endlessly explaining.
Dude, you and I were dealing with Halo and Call of Duty lobbies in our teens. Like,
Oh,
if
I
you
never
can deal
played
with
those,
that-
dude. Yeah, I never dealt with that
I
shit.
did.
never-
If you can deal
Yeah,
with that, you can deal with anything.
Oh yeah, dude. You know, legit, man. It's like,
Hey, John, if I had a penny for every time someone was apparently my dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, growing up in those kinds of, you know,
communities.
Okay, for example, John, the recent games in the same series, they would have you removed from the lobby for saying certain things, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
not a thing when I was a teenager.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't like. It's just you can just log off the game, right? But enforcing niceness is it's so weak.
It
I
is.
hate
It really is. Like,
It's
if
like-
I had an issue with someone, I would just mute them. Done.
Well,
Or
far too
just
easy.
haze them back. Like honestly, that's the thing. If you, it's like this forced conformity thing that a lot of like. If you've seen like men don't do this, right? Men do not behave this way in these kind of like, they, if you see, like if there's a kid getting, I'm not saying this always happens, but there are points where if a kid's getting picked on in a fight 7-1 and he sticks up for himself and fights, the other 7 guys will respect him. They will actively
generally,
respect
yes.
him. Yeah, not always,
Yeah.
obviously.
Generally, you're right.
Obviously.
Hazing is bullshit, but ribbing is absolutely fine. In fact, ribbing is part of life. You've got to get used to it.
Well, I don't even think hazing. It's just hazing stops being hazing when it becomes like cruel. Not all
Yes.
hazing is cruel. Like
Yeah,
you
true.
need a bit of it in your life, right? It's why, like I was saying, from that Discord I was in, at some point I just stopped doing things like overly explaining myself. I just did very simplistic, like, like I would basically just assert what I believe and just say, no, you're just wrong. And I just give no explanation. I just don't do that anymore. Because fundamentally, people respect you when you have certainty. They just do.
Yes.
I was always
They
taught to
just,
avoid
if
these
you
types of
explain
things.
yourself, it sounds like you're trying to gain their approval. And just, no.
Yeah, that's one thing that I realized, that actually over-explaining can be seen as a sign of weakness, even though it's
yeah.
actually, like, in reality it's not, because the
Well-
fact that you are able to clearly explain things is a
Well,
skill
yeah.
that not a lot of people have.
There's
Yeah,
a difference between,
But
when
you
I-
know you're in the right environment when you don't have to over-explain.
The issue,
Well,
the
I
issue
never
also
have
is
to
some
over-explain to John.
some people don't want to hear, just don't want to.
Well, no,
listen to
it's
the
like, here's the
explanation.
thing. Here's the thing. There's a difference
their
between
mind changed.
explaining and over-explaining. Because when people over-explain, right, it's not even like out of passion. It's these people like falling over themselves, trying to avoid offense, and almost pleading like through apology. That's what I'm talking about. That is perceived as weakness. That
No,
is a
that's-
weakness.
Yeah, that is a weakness. When I say over-explaining, I genuinely just mean explaining my point.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. That's just you going through the thought process. That's not what I mean. And people.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all I care about is the truth. I don't care about being right. Although, if I'm right, of course, I'm going to be happy about that, right?
Hmm.
But it's about, okay, I just want to know where the miscommunication is, and I want to explain my side of
Like,
things as logically.
I'll give you an
and clearly as
example.
possible.
I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. It's like I was listening to the radio with my dad when we were like renovating the house or whatever, and I heard on the radio they said, like they were talking about like how male literacy is down. Like they said, oh, it's fine to listen to audiobooks, and the way they were almost trying not to offend each other. And then one guy said, there was a man and a woman. The guy said to her, like, I'm just sorry, but like listening to like audiobooks in a Birmingham accent isn't sexy. He said, not that there's anything wrong with people from like the Birmingham accent. And I'm like, you're being weak. That is weakness. What you're doing. You insult someone passive aggressively, and then you realize, oh, but I didn't offend you. It's like if you walk up to a black person and say, you know, if I hear an N-word talking, it just doesn't sound that attractive. Not that there's anything wrong with being an N-word. How are you supposed to take that in any other way but
Well, that's not just over-explaining. That's also a form of retracting your statement when you realize you fucked up.
Yeah, but I don't even think like the thing that I'm saying is that this need for retracting the immediate moment you're wrong, like just because most people, like the ones, they either don't care or they'll view it as a weakness, so just don't even bother. Just say whatever and just move on. That's my stance. I'm just kind of tired of like, because I've done
it's
this
like
my
if
whole
I
life.
say I have a problem with a certain accident, it doesn't mean I have a problem with any people that have that accident.
Yeah. Like if I say I think Australian accents sound retarded, which I do. I hate the Australian, and I hate the New Jersey accent more. They like, oh, Boston, that like, oh my God, that accent.
That's an island.
Yeah, it's like the mafia woman accent. I hate that accent with a burning passion. I don't need to then say, but I don't hate the women who have. No, I don't. I shouldn't have to qualify that.
Yeah,
I
you
should just
shouldn't
say,
have to qualify. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's what
true,
I think. I think that's what I hate. It's over qualifications in a statement. That's what people view as weakness.
It's that whole
And-
thing about trying not to cause offence.
Yeah. Pretty much. I just no. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah, so there's over-explaining for the sake of clarity, and there's over-explaining for the sake of not trying to offend, and those are two different types of over-explaining.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. The over-explanation for clarity is fine. Like clarifying your statement is absolutely
Those conversations I tend to give up on when I realize that it doesn't matter how I phrase something, the other person just does not listen.
Oh yeah.
Has no intention of listening. Has no
like,
intention of.
There was this one guy on like there's a YouTuber I watch called Broken Rune, and he's kind of he has an interesting take on like spiritualism, and he analogizes the TikTok debate scene, TikTok quote debate, as if most of the people on TikTok are intellectually qualified, and I'm not one for credentialisms. They're just not trained debaters, and they're also not mature enough or learned or experienced enough.
No,
to be...
you notice there's a different demographic, like on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Reddit and yeah.
Well, I'm just saying purely by age, like they're just not mature enough to debate honestly. But there was this one guy who he was asked, what if your girlfriend was like transgender or whatever, would you still date her? And says, I couldn't imagine that happening because that's not my girlfriend. You see, he was basically being childish. There's a difference between like stonewalling someone when they're acting in bad faith and just not conceding ground, and what he's doing. He's basically trying to what the kids would call aura farming, and it's just like, I would just, as soon if I were in a conversation or like I was questioning him or interviewing him and he did that shit, I'd end the interview right then and there and just let him cope and seethe, thinking that I totally owned him, and it's like, sure you did, dude, I don't care, and I just ignore him.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem. That makes you not a real nerd.
I don't care.
Real nerds have to be right. We're always right. Well, actually, there.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem is that I have no problem with people asserting certainty. I don't. I really don't give a shit. What I have a problem with, sorry, my bulb, the room I'm in, is on a timer. But I don't mind people. Yeah, I know. Well, it's just annoying because it dims. But I don't have a problem with people asserting that they're correct, right? Because at some point you just gotta be like, no, you're like. I'll give you an example. I was talking to someone in the when I was in that 5e group I was in, and I was bringing up because I was really passionate about the old school games, and I was telling another guy about the history of the thing, and I was like, oh, this is a wargaming aspect and blah blah blah, and she says, well, D&D is actually a role-playing game. It's like, no, it's not. It emerged out of wargaming. Like it at its core, it's a war game. And she just said, well, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Well, okay. The thing is, neither of you are wrong.
Well, no, she is wrong. Like she basically tried to say that's what I was saying about it emerging.
But it is a role-playing game. She's not wrong in saying that.
I know, but like the point I was driving at is that at its core, it was a war game. Like a lot of these mechanics are based around wargaming.
Yeah, and Choose Your Own Adventure book started as D&D. That doesn't mean they're not a different thing.
Yeah. I don't know, but it was just kind of the condescension.
How something comes into how the idea of something comes into existence and the actual thing itself aren't always the same.
Yeah, but I will also qualify that this was basically like her first ever session of D&D when I was saying this, and I'm like a 10-year veteran of the hobby, so it's like I don't want a whippersnapper telling me what is and is not the game. I don't
And-
want to
Yeah,
hear.
but she wasn't. What she said wasn't actually wrong, and it definitely wasn't a matter of opinion. It is a role-playing game. That's not
And there
up
is
for
also
debate.
there's also people have different definitions of role playing.
Yeah. When I
Um,
say when yeah, that's the other side of that. That yes, there is role playing even in the wargaming scene. There was elements of role play in like of RP in the war game. That's because
Correct.
look at Constable or whatever it was Fromage in the Seafaring campaign of the Blackmore Bunch. Like Wesley remembers vividly, there was like a scene in a naval battle where they had just done the calculus and he was about to like I think it was Arneson said that oh the cowardly captain is attempting to lower down the flag and he gets shot by the people's representative of the Republic and says nail those colors to the mast, and the players just said oh it's or it's like constable or whatever rank he was fromage again, right? That's RP.
Yeah.
They post hoc rationalized what the event was doing. I'm not opposed to that. What she means by roleplay, and I can tell because I've been around these people enough to know, it's fantasy grab ass. It's basically playing a Muppets character in Shakespeare. And I'm like, no, you're just fucking wrong. And if Gygax were sitting next to me and I was explaining the history of it, one, he'd probably be interjecting to correct me on my mistakes. But two, if he heard that statement from her, he would laugh in her face. That was more so the point that I was driving at.
But how can you be so certain of that? Because as John says, there's different definitions of roleplay.
You'll be looking to run
If we're talking about D&D,
I appreciate, you know, that
In
you're
the second era,
sticking to your
Tiber
point,
Septim
but I
himself
think
led
there's
the army
issues
that
with that.
conquered Old Heraldin from
because
the
role playing is not
barbarians
a
of Reach.
defined this
Septim
is it
later
and it's
found
not
the
anything
empire that
else.
united Tamriel,
Exactly.
but his
Some
first
people
known
role
battle
play
victory
by
was
getting
right
into
here.
character and really
And
caring
this
about their
inn has
backstory.
the very
Some
Which
people
I-
role
great
play
general
just
slept
in
on
the
his
moment,
first night
like me.
as Old Heraldin's
Some people
liberator,
role play
as good as it
completely
was
different
hundreds
types of
of
characters
years
to who
ago.
they are in real life. Some people play something analogous to real life. None of these things are not role playing.
Mm.
They are
This
all
was-
role playing, they're just different forms of it. Some people
Yeah.
get into the fantasy grab ass side of it, some people get into the intellectual side of
There
it.
is
some people
certainly
get into the
a
lore side of it.
there is certainly a section of the hobby who, as far as they're concerned, the role playing bit is purely the improv acting sort of side of it.
Well, it's not
And
even
that,
the improv acting. That's kind of the that's. I think that's really my contention with like what I call the fantasy grab ass, is that it's neither well written, well acted, or like it's not that deep, and that's really my problem. And it's not even consistent tonally.
Let's save
That's
that
kind of my
appetite.
problem with it. Like at least with like something like Call of Cthulhu. Like there is a consistent through, and they have no problem
Correct.
staying consistent in Call of Cthulhu when the occasion that they play it. But when it comes to D&D, they don't take it seriously. And I'm not saying it has to be like life or death take it seriously, but at least don't act like a complete moron.
Well, I mean, I personally don't take D&D as seriously as Call of Cthulhu, but it's not because of anything the game's doing, it's just because I enjoy the game less.
And that's fine.
So,
I'm not saying...
But I take it seriously enough, like John can attest, like he wouldn't have me in the games if I didn't take it seriously.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like if I were...
But compared to Call of Cthulhu, it's like, you know I'm there, John, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just prefer the pulp action of old school D&D. You know? And I'm
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that like every edition after first edition isn't D&D. It's an entirely separate game.
See ya.
OD&D BX and first edition are they're what D&D is, as far as I'm concerned,
He's off fighting the war.
because it was created under the tenure of the man who created it, or at least one of the men who created it. Everything else after that is just it's not the same. And I'm just not impressed with it.
Well,
Even
they're iterations upon the formula, aren't they?
Well, not even, because like second edition isn't the same as first ed. It has overlap, but it deviates quite a bit in the sense that, like, I'll give you a prime example. Oh, you've got the door glitch. Oh, there we go. You could just Fusro Da her out of the door, John. So, but no, like, XP for gold is not like the bog standard way to get XP in second ed. It's an optional rule for thieves and only for them.
There is an optional rule for all players in there as well to get some form of XP for gold, but no, it's not just thieves.
I thought it was just the thieves. I'd have to go through the second ed books again, but I was fairly certain it was.
One thing I like about second edition is it has got a lot of these things in as optional rules.
I don't like optional rules. I don't like the concept of optional rules. I don't.
Oh, I do, because one thing I like about OSE, for example, is there's so many, the advanced bit is so many little optional bits that you can use to make it feel more like AD&D at times.
Well, what I would say as optional rules is if it's printed in a separate book. If it's in the book and says optional, it's not really optional. Not really. I don't like that. But that's just me, you know.
Hey, Omen Owl.
Hey, Omen. What's up, man? It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's...
Want to join in this debate?
For everybody for gold for XP, so...
That's fine.
But to be fair, second edition is the cleaned up, nicer version of it. It loses some of its flavor, but I think that overall, it's... If we're just going by the core books, we're not talking about the bloat that happens later. But the first 3 books are actually really good. Well, I guess it's technically not a book. They came in, the monster manuals were in those sheets.
For me, second edition was a little bit too dry. It lost a lot of the flavor.
Here's I will just, before you continue, I will say to General Nut, here's the thing, man. I will say that if you play first ed, you're playing Greyhawk Gygaxian D&D. Right?
I will not necessarily.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is he designed that for Greyhawk. That's what the rules were for. I know there's more. Like, he did it also to screw Arneson out of royalties. I'm not contesting that at all. But that's what the rules were intended to be used for tournament play set in the world of Greyhawk. That's what the assumptions are for. And if you're not running Greyhawk, you know, then I would say, don't run the rules designed for a setting you're not running for. Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna be contrarian in this part,
no,
which is
I'm already being contrarian, so I'd be a hypocrite. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh no, well, I mean, having read the rules, my real feeling for it is that first edition was intended to be played with a large gaming group. And what I mean by a large gaming group, we're talking West Marches, dozen plus players coming in and out. I'm not even going to say it's necessarily Greyhawk because we did it for Forgotten Realms. We really, the setting didn't matter. I mean, that's truthfully what Gygax actually said. You know, they were surprised that Greyhawk sold well. But definitely it had a lot more rules for it. I know everyone talks about tournament. It did, but I'll be honest, it probably caused more confusion as because I've been playing first edition for, past few years. And my real issue with it is that the rules literally contradict themselves between the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, the Dungeon Master's Guide. And second edition fixed a lot of that. I also think that, the assumption with Gygax, I'm not saying it's necessarily for Greyhawk, but his assumption is that there was a large group and that's why you have to do one-to-one play. Whereas most of us came up, I say most of us that start off with BX, of course said, oh, you don't need to do this one-to-one time. If you leave, which is what we do in reality, you play with 4 or 5 of your friends. Hey, we didn't finish this module. We'll start it again. We'll just, we'll just do we'll save it here and start off back where we were. Whereas in Gygax's assumption is that you had to enter and leave the dungeon for your set.
Maybe I wasn't being clear. What I mean is even if you did run the realms, we'll say, it'll start like when I said that it's for a Greyhawk, I mean like the worlds that you ran it for would start mirroring Greyhawk to a degree. Is what I was trying to get at.
Well, again, I've played Oriental Adventures, which even though they say Greyhawk, it was a non-European standard-based setting.
Yeah.
They had the Dragonlance book, which I think actually I've heard a lot of people love that, which was also a first edition. The Forgotten Realms was when Gygax left. They shifted all the focus over to
Realms came out just at the tail end of first ed or at the start of second ed, right?
It was tail end of first.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
And I will say as well, maybe the people I'm learning from are either misremembering or doing revisionist history. I'll completely concede that.
You're probably looking at Daddy Boulder 1, which I like. I do like his stuff, but I disagree.
I'm also looking at the joy of wargaming and stuff like that. So more of the I'm listening to I do listen to Daddy Roll the 1. I do. I'm
just saying from having started playing, I guess, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons around 1982, I can tell you what my feeling was when I got it.
Right.
And which was very different. Again, really didn't matter. A lot of us started off with a Greyhawk setting just because there were the modules for it. But my understanding was, the assumption was that even when Advanced Dungeons & Dragons came out, that they were surprised that anyone wanted to play in a predetermined setting. They figured every DM was going to make his own. So I can't necessarily say I will say this much: it is definitely Eurocentric, which
pulp-centric. Let's be honest. It's
I made Eurocentric until you really got into Oriental Adventures.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, it is. I'm saying it's not European-centric as it is, but I'm saying that the real meat and potatoes of it is Conan. So it's the pulps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I think that it was a, how do I put this? It wasn't just Conan. It was also Theseus and Hercules and a lot of that.
I mean, even the fact that you can't since they were avid Napoleonics players, they were historical war gamers. Of course, history is going to get into it. Of course, it is.
Well, what I meant by this was the literature that they're taking from, and everyone wants to talk about Tolkien, but we've been reading some of the Appendix N stuff, and I think that really it was. Yeah, Tolkien had a big influence on it, just because that was
a big one. I don't think Tolkien's influence was all that big compared to other stuff. I'm not saying it didn't have an influence, but I think people greatly exaggerate how much Tolkien's work had on Lord of the Rings. Maybe The Hobbit is probably the biggest one.
Well, I mean, it had halflings, of course. But a lot of it was also the most popular out there. But the same point is that you also had all the Greek mythology, which I think is missing from a lot.
There's Norse mythology, Greek mythology. There's all.
Don't forget biblical stuff or where do you think we get the spell sticks to snakes? And the bard, like I said in one of the last streams, was influenced by David. It's not. Now that's not the only thing. It was also Orpheus and just the historical bards.
Yeah. I mean, they were all. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that it wasn't. I just think that a lot of it is, but they did. But you definitely see the Western influences, even though the demigods had a lot of the other stuff, and that's why I think second edition simplified a lot of the things in there. And I think this is why I say I think that second edition, just the core books, not everything else, was much better. But to be fair, you had 12 or 13 years of playing, and you can fix a lot of this stuff. Now, some of the things I'm not necessarily too thrilled about. At the time, I liked the idea. I didn't like the implementation of the monster. And I'm just going to very specific things. The monster manual. I think that there was an issue there with the. You were supposed to take out the monsters that you wanted because they were loose leaf. That you put into a binder. And the problem is that they put 2 monsters on it. And you need to put. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the alphabetical order didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the alphabetical order that bothered me. It was the fact that when you pulled out a sheet, you got 2 monsters, and then really it should have been 1 monster per sheet. So it has a front and a back. And what they should have done is they should have put the artwork on one side and, some basic descriptions of it. And then on the other side, they should have had the DM. So if you wanted to, now that we have better screens, he could have put a front-facing screen out there. So the players can say, actually, we had Trapper Keepers and stuff. So they could have slid that in. So you can say, hey, here's your monster. And you look at it like, oh, that's cool. And then the GM can look at the other side and say, all right. I think that would have worked out really well. But instead, you start getting, Bugbear, and some of it would overlap onto the second page. It was a good idea. It was a bad implementation, in my opinion.
Just as a side note, Omen, the thing you said about this is just because I forgot to mention earlier,
Sure.
that AD&D was focused on multiple groups. OD&D was as well. Like OD&D is like the proto first ed. Like a lot of the game designs came from Zero Ed.
Oh, absolutely. But when it diverged,
oh yeah,
BX is closer to White Box, and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is a lot more complicated.
That's only true if you don't play Chainmail. You have to run OD. Like, okay, you can run OD&D without Chainmail in the same way that you can run a car without a brake. You can do it. I just wouldn't recommend it.
Well, the problem was even AD&D required Chainmail.
Really?
If you actually read Chainmail was intended for large battles. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
And so it actually says, hey, if you want larger battles, you're supposed to do it. The problem really came down to personal opinion on this. And actually, I've talking to players that have the books from the where they had the books in the 70s, the 80s. No one actually read the Dungeon Master's Guide. They read bits and pieces of the Dungeon Master's Guide, but no one read it from front to back, is what I've found. And if you start looking at it, and a lot of stuff I just flipped over, like, oh, well, let me look at the character generation method. Really, you need to read all of it to understand what's going on.
I've heard one person say you have to read both the player's handbook and the DMG at the same time. Like, as you turn pages, you have to read them incongruent. And I'm like, dude, if to understand this rule set completely, I have to read 2 books at the same time. There is a problem.
I'm going to say this much, which a lot of people miss. A lot of the Dungeon Master's Guide tells you on why rules decisions were made, which was very unique to. I mean, I say very unique because this came out first, but it wasn't until more recently when we actually can talk to the creators on a normal chatting basis. Like I talk to, if you're in the certain Discord, you can actually find out why the creator did certain rules. Gygax actually explained a lot of it in there, and people just ignored a lot of this stuff. The part of it and I know Yo Geek, when he was doing the drinking game, about 5 or 6 years ago, one of them was, hey, what causes you to lose levels? If you don't sleep, you lose levels. Now, you get them back when you rest, but if your character can't sleep, you start losing levels until the point you can rest. So that's a way of keeping, if you aren't if you're going out in the wilderness, everyone misses that rule. The other rule was, and part of it just comes down to the timing, is the monster manual, and I'm going to use gnomes in particular. For gnomes, it says they get all these saving throw bonuses, but the player's handbook does not. And then you get a spell in player's handbook, which is completely contradicted in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
If I remember correctly, it's the same with the halfling and their ranged combat bonuses. That's in the monster manual section, not the actual players. To understand that halflings get a +3 bonus with slings, you have to go to the monster manual entry of the halfling.
Right, and I just assumed that was because halflings had a high dexterity and they're just doing that, whereas your player will usually have that in their stats. That was my assumption, but for gnomes, it literally says that they get a bonus against poison. But when you go to the player's handbook, it doesn't mention anything about getting a save against poison.
Yeah, but the dwarves do. The dwarves do.
Oh, I know, but my point being is that you have to go read the Sage Advice in the Dragon magazine for that, and even I thought this was interesting because I was looking through some of it. When you start reading the Dragon magazine for Oriental Adventures, they were still doing Sage Advice saying that they had typos from 3 years previously. So it's second edition cleaned up a lot of that stuff, and that was my main point. Part of it was listening to Luke Gygax. He said his father did not play with weapons versus armor class. He said his father put that in specifically to for his wargaming buddies, and I don't know how many people use it. Well, the other part was it made
But the worst part, what the worst part about the weapons versus armor class, is that it doesn't apply to monsters that don't wear armor. It's
right.
So this is something the DM has to memorize himself.
Well, the problem is that you have to have it in there, and it's not too big of a deal. We say, okay, it's not a big deal if you're fighting the certain monsters. The problem is if you have multiple opponents with multiple types of armor.
That's what I'm saying. If the DM has to memorize this because all his players, or most of them, wear armor. So he has to keep track of what each weapon does against which type of armor.
Yeah.
Have you?
What was that, John?
Sorry.
It can become very cumbersome.
Yeah.
And what I found out was, if you have the old Dungeon Master screen, it had that for each weapon. So
true.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying there are shortcuts, but even just the fact that it's just another thing that you have to keep track of.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is that it was so important they put it in the Dungeon Master screen. That's what I was trying to say. The other part that comes into it is Wall of Fire. Like I said, I've been playing. We're now up to like 13th or 14th level. The spells are getting in there. Second edition to me fixed a lot of the problems that I saw that made a lot of sense to me. One is I really like the fact that they did have weapons versus armor as an optional rule. Those little blue boxes that we all talk about for optional rules, I wish that more games did this. Hey, here's an optional rule, and you put it right next to it. Hey, here's an optional rule for XP. Hey, here's an optional rule for this. I'm like, oh, okay, and it gives some Dungeon Master advice. The other part I did like about some of it was I think that they fixed a lot of the things that need to be done, and I'm glad the Gygax had talked about doing a second edition before he was ousted. And that was fine, but I got very frustrated when I would go look at stuff written in 1977 or 78 that was never corrected during any of the later stuff. And in the Sage advice, they would be kind of wishy-washy about fixing it.
It's the same thing. I remember Spoony talked about a module where the Tarrasque shows up, and in the entry it says the Tarrasque, it says it can only be hit on a natural one. Now it's obviously a typo in that they can only miss if creatures with a minus THAC0 can only miss on a 1. The typo is they can only be hit on a 1 because THAC0 has nothing to do with your armor. And when asked about this, he says, "Oh yeah, the Tarrasque, that's an odd duck." And Spoony said he likes the thing because he just says, "Oh, there should just be an enemy you can't kill," and I fundamentally disagree. The Tarrasque should be difficult, excruciatingly difficult to kill, but it should not be impossible where you need to get to minus 30 HP and keep it at minus 30 because it regenerates. And you also have to make sure you botch your rolls by getting a natural 1 every time. You're never going to do it. You are never going to kill this thing.
So my view on the Tarrasque is, one is it didn't seem like it was that interesting of a monster. It seems more of a plot device. And the other part is for the Tarrasque is really the players, you don't have to kill everything. And usually it says permanently kill. But part of it really comes down to, hey, there are some opponents you can't kill, so how do you redirect them? How do you move them around? How does it... But it's like Godzilla. You're not going to kill Godzilla, but you can defeat Godzilla.
Yeah, but the problem with Godzilla is, yes, if the Tarrasque was facing basically NPCs, sure. But you're basically, if Godzilla was fighting Thor and the Hulk, they would find a way.
That's a different thing. Now you're dealing with gods. We're not dealing with.
Because obviously D&D players can potentially get that powerful, But the point I'm saying is that there's something special about your
Working on an
characters,
emergence trade.
right?
I didn't say that they
are-
weren't, but again, it's a plot device. You can defeat things, and I think that's the thing I looked at, which was the old story of, once you give something stats, you can kill it. But the reality of it is that by the time you went to second edition, they really removed. Hey, you can fight the gods for the most part.
yeah, that's the one thing I would say you shouldn't be able to kill are literal gods, the manifestations of basically metaphysical reality. Like because these gods are the things like the sky or the sun.
Well, I'm going to bring this part up too, which is the whole point of, there were monsters within mythology that the gods couldn't kill a lot of times. So I'm not against having a Trask-like creature. My problem really comes down to all too often, and I'm guilty of this too when I was young. Oh, I'm going to put a monster in there so you can kill it. Rather than saying, hey, here's an opponent that you're going to have to think some other way to defeat it. However you can turn it aside, however you can move it across, and it's a force of nature kind of thing. And I'm okay with that for the problem I have. I'm okay with that because, like, look, you're not going to do it. But the other point is, like everything else, fine. If you're really going to do it, you have to go on several quests. You have to go get a spear from so-and-so. You have to go get this forged by, that they always had that with the Greek gods, which is, hey, you go to Hephaestus and you're going to have certain things forged by him. And you're going to have to go over here and you're going to have to get the materials. But it didn't really feel like the modules would do that. And
I would just,
to be honest,
say, Omen, the thing that I'm saying is that I have no problem with using unconventional methods to defeat a monster. My problem is that you have this thing is so dangerous that you physically cannot go up against it in a head-to-head fight. What I'm saying is, I don't want to have to tell the players this thing is unstoppable and destroy the world. By the way, you can't face it in a frontal assault, so you're gonna have to get creative. I'm just saying maybe some players just don't want to be creative and just want to fight the thing. I would say, okay, fine, it's difficult. Extremely difficult, but you can do it. If you're telling the players, oh, by the way, you can only hit this.
You don't
thing.
tell the players any of this. Is my point. The players have to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, but if the players decide to go, we're gonna fight the Tarrasque head on, and it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, your magic missiles and certain spells, they don't work on it. Oh yeah, that you can only hit it on a natural one. They're gonna feel like you gypped them, and they'll just basically say, well, why didn't you just kill us? If it's
no. My view on this is. And this is my problem with the Trask, and I know it was in it was in the Monster Manual too.
Was it not in first?
It was
in
first.
first.
I'm saying it's a Monster Manual too. Is my point.
Right.
But to me, it was a boring monster.
Yeah, I think you can make it interesting.
But it doesn't have range.
As General Nut says, let them die. The whole point, I think, of really old school adventuring is it is up to the players what they do. They have the freedom to take on whatever they want. There was this whole concept that the further you go far from safety, the tougher things will become. The deeper you go into the dungeon, the higher the levels of monsters you're meant to encounter. It's up to the players. If they want to go down there, they have to accept the consequences. And this is why they had things in the game. They had divination spells, they had sages, they had ways of finding out information.
Yes, John, I know that the rhetorical rabbit hole you're going down, I'm not contesting in any way that again, you guys say let them die. Yeah, but what the point that I'm driving at is, it feels like with things like I'm not just saying the Tarrasque, I'm just saying that's the example, right? It's, well, you technically can, it's like basically, well, you can, like for instance, you drop them in a world and tell them you can play a wizard, but every time you cast a spell, you have a 10% chance of spontaneously combusting and instantly dying. If you tell the players that, or they find out that this happens, they'll feel like, well, what was the point of me even rolling up the class then? That's the point I'm driving at. I'm not saying don't make the Tarrasque difficult to assail in a frontal assault, don't make it so that it's basically impossible. That's not interesting. That's what makes it boring. That's all I'm saying.
Well, my view on all of it was, and this is why I'm looking at Trask, you can fight it and not die for the Trask. There's plenty of ways of doing it. The Trask is a melee monster. It is not a ranged monster.
It can't
dragons
fly.
What's that?
It can't fly.
Yeah, exactly.
High level characters can often fly. There you go.
I mean,
yeah, but I would argue that the Tarrasque, if it sees its opponents up in the sky, it'll just pick up a big boulder and throw it.
I think the Trask has animal intelligence. It's a low intelligence. It's not very high.
Yeah, but like, it's not that stupid that it wouldn't go.
Why would it?
Nothing
can kill it. If nothing can kill it, it doesn't have to worry about it. You're annoying it more than anything else. That's what we're trying to say. Is you're trying to say, well, you have to fight it in front. And I'm like, no, the Trask.
The original point I was saying, right, is I will put the Tarrasque in front of them potentially, and say, you guys can go about this however you want. I'm not going to make any assumptions. What I'm saying is the baseline stat of people who basically use that argument of, I like that it can only be hit on a natural one, or stuff like this, that kind of design with anything where you can technically kill it, it just feels like a mother may I. You're asking the DM to kill this thing, and I don't like that. Even things like, you need the magical MacGuffins to kill this thing, I would say get the magical MacGuffins to help you, but you don't need them to kill it.
I think the point of I have no problem with having to find certain things to kill certain creatures, but to me it all comes down to how you introduce the monsters, how they are incorporated in a quest, you have, and how you sort of seed them in over time, and you have to dangle. For me, there always should be a solution that the players can find out if they speak with, if they take precautions, if they seek out information, if they seek out NPCs that can help them. You've got to put these solutions in there to make the whole quest against such a powerful creature mean to feel more epic.
I will also concede. I will also, because this is something that I've buried in residual memory, and I will stop talking so that IQ can get a chance, because he's been quite silent for a while, and I do apologize for that. That I have been in a lot of games, especially by new schoolers, who do this railroad MacGuffin stuff, so I have a visceral contempt for it. And because I've played a lot of old school where this was not the case, I have forgotten about this, but I've never forgotten on an emotional level why I hate, you need the magical MacGuffin or the quest won't work.
Okay, I'm going to bring up, and I know what you're talking about with the magical MacGuffin part here, but the Trask has a few different ways of defeating it, and it's not necessarily by brute force.
Acid is one of them. Acid is one of them.
No. You keep thinking of everything has to be combat. A lot of it is, and this is my point in what John's mentioning, the Trask is a force of nature. The players can evade the Trask actually pretty easily. The Trask is not something that the players have to interact with at all, unless, and this is why I'm saying this is the point of the force, is the Trask is heading towards a city the players care about. Only then do the players, see, that's what we're talking about. It's like, you just fly out of the way. And that's why when people talk about this stuff, and the Trask, when he has been fed, goes back into the ground and sleeps it off. So
I will say, when I said the acid pit, what I was saying when I said acid, I meant like an acid pit. Essentially, you lure the Trask into a massive pit in the ground with a ton of acid in it, and it dies.
If players can find out, though, my whole point really comes down to, this is why I said a force of nature, is the idea is to redirect it to the point that where it is basically satiated itself for a while, and then it burrows it back itself back into the ground. Now, what they've done is they've given it stats and an ability to kill it, but from a DM standpoint, one is I don't have to tell the players all this stuff. They can do the augury, you know, and like, okay, you can do this and this, and then, you know, you're supposed to commune with spirits, and you can find out a lot of this
but
stuff.
at this point, the people I play with are veterans of the game. They know what a Tarrasque is, so I'm not even going to be like,
Yeah.
no. People,
Well,
they are high enough level that they would have heard rumors about. If I'm throwing a Tarrasque at them and they're like 17 plus level, they would have read somewhere or heard something about this game-ending monster. They would know what this is. If they need explicit, like, specific details, and they're like, oh, we've heard about this monster rampaging, the sage will go, oh, I know what this is. I'm not going to charge you. Here are some ways that you might.
Well, I mean, for me, hey, how do we deal with the Tarrasque? And I would make the players have to go find that information out. But again, the players do not have to fight this thing to defeat it. They just have to direct it to the point that it's not going to take out what they care about.
If I remember correctly, there was one method that I heard of people using gate to banish it to Gehenna, which, when I first heard it, that's a really smart way to deal with it. And then I thought about it, like, years later, I'm like, oh, that's actually really dumb. That's really, really, really bad. Because if any intelligent, like, demon or what are they? What are the monsters, like, not the fiends that are like neutral evil, not the demons or the devils. What are they called?
Oh yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It begins with Y. Oh God, what are they?
It's fine.
Yugoloth. A Yugoloth. That's it.
Yeah,
If a Yugoloth, a greater Yugoloth finds that thing, that's bad. That's really, really bad. But that's a problem for another day.
Well, even if
actions have
even if-
consequences.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, there are a lot of different ways, but not everything has to be you have to kill it off. And that's why I mentioned when we talked about earlier about Greek myths, is look at Typhoon. Typhoon wasn't killed by the gods.
Actually,
you know?
he was. He actually was.
I thought he was
when they say kill, here's the thing. Even the Titans who were defeated were killed. What they mean is they were cast into Tartarus, into hell. That's what that means, right? See, and the thing is, like, there are no monsters that the gods can kill. Zeus is so powerful in the myth. Hesiod says that Zeus's bolts pierce down beneath chaos, meaning there's nowhere in observable reality that his influence and power does not have effect. He is the most powerful god in the pantheon.
Right.
And a lot of the myths that people have are considered blasphemous anyway by people like Plato. So they're not really canon because these are just stories and they're using the gods haphazardly. So you can like the stories. To treat them as canon, the only really canonical story that you can say every Greek would believe in would be Hesiod's works, I think it's called. And that's about it.
My point being is that they usually cast it. Well, when I say kill, we're talking about permanently removed from the game.
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas, you know, what they're doing is, like you said, they're casting them out. So then there's still repercussions for doing so.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I was trying to say with Typhoon for this is like, okay, you know, they're having this. And that's what I mean by that is, and the other part we're going to talk about, which no one seemed to do, if you, again, read the Dungeon Master's Guide, everyone talks about how hard it is to play a Paladin. If you actually read the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Cleric is supposed to be the hardest one to play because they have to follow the same strictures as the Paladin and one up above that.
Yep.
So the Paladin just has to say, well, I just have to follow these lawful good stuff. The Cleric says, hey, guess what? My God says I have to do this. I have to go do it. And people ignore that part. Anyway, sorry about that.
Anyway, a few things that have cropped up in the conversation that I haven't been able to get a word in edgeways.
Sorry about that, John. I do apologize.
You said about the second edition books being really good. I just want to come back on that. Their second edition player's handbook was excellent. The second edition Dungeon Master's Guide was shit. It lacked,
How so? My question is, why do you think it was so bad?
It lacked anything resembling flavor. You got flavor from the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide. It was inspirational. Okay, it was messy, badly organized, contradictory, but I still believe it to be a wonderful book because it had so much inspiration in it. But I believe the second edition Player's Handbook was better than the first edition Player's Handbook, which was, I think, was a bit undercooked. One of the reasons for the contradictions, though, was the way the books were put together. The Monster Manual came out first, and thus the Monster Manual was actually written largely for zero edition rules.
Yeah.
And thus there's a lot that was put into AD&D that's missing from the Monster Manual. Things to do with armor class and alignments and stuff like that. Thus I don't use the Monster Manual as a reference to give halflings a missile bonus, simply because the Player's Handbook was not written, and in the Player's Handbook they now get a bonus to their dexterity stat. They're almost encouraged to be a thief or a fighter thief, where dexterity will be a prime stat, and thus they're likely to have some form of bonus with missiles as a result. So I don't think the extra bonus given to the generic halfling monster should be applied to player characters. I don't think it was intended to.
No, I agree with the halflings. However, the gnome was a particular case, which is what I was referring to. The gnome, it was supposed to have bonuses towards it. It even mentions that they have bonuses towards poison, and they never put the bonus in there.
I would just like to, before we do that, IQ, you still with us?
Yep.
I just want to make sure that you're not being left out of this. You want to say anything?
Can I say something?
You
I
guys
just got
have
here.
so much experience and knowledge on stuff that I have no input in.
Wib, you wanted to input. What did you want to say?
I'm just
Yeah.
part of the conversation, but not really part of the conversation.
Yo,
I
Wib,
just wanted to say,
go for it, man.
it's a holiday in Hibernia. Don't forget to pack a wife.
Fair enough. That was good. That was
Splendid.
good.
And DK, I know you mentioned on the last stream about a certain individual who was a bit very knowledgeable about the game, very knowledgeable on Dragon's Foot and all that sort of thing. A certain Mr.
Yeah.
EOTB.
Yes.
When I first encountered talking to people about AD&D on Discord,
Yeah, I remember this.
he's one of the first people I ever encountered, and he basically told me that if I changed rules, then I was no longer playing AD&D.
I
Now-
understand where he's coming from. I can.
But that goes directly against what Gygax says in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Which is true.
I'm going to bring up one other thing, which is by Raw, no one can play by Raw because the rules really contradict themselves, which is where I said the second edition, and I'm not disagreeing about flavor and design. I think first edition Dungeon Master's Guide is important to read so you can learn about game design. Gygax actually explains his game design.
Yes.
By the time second edition, they're not explaining game design.
I will also point out. It's not just that the rules contradict themselves, Omen. I've seen Mage's Musings explain the first edition initiative system, and I got lost after he said roll 2d6.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I was like,
Yeah.
What are segments? What are attack routines? Why does the
I-
fighter
Well,
why does the
but-
fighter with extra attack routines get to
I
start
will
and
say-
end? I'm like,
I will say, having played AD&D at Sean Mage's Musings table, he's got all of these committed to memory, and the game
well, he's been
sings
playing for like what 3 decades.
4 decades, more like. But yeah, the game sings when he runs it at the table because he's got it all committed to memory. But he has obviously absorbed it.
Honestly,
Well, but I'm going to say, and I agree with John here. Absolutely, Mage's Musings knows how to run it. Most people, I don't know if this is true for John, but when I came in, most people actually ran a combination of BX, AD&D.
Absolutely,
Which was-
that's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah.
and here's the thing, there is precedent for that because the basic set of homes literally
Right.
tells you to do this. But not the Mensner version, just the Holmes version. It literally tells you to do this. You go, oh, by the way, the advanced version is coming out soon, kids, so be sure to save up your allowance and get the advanced version.
Well, I'm just saying for cook and mold bay, which is what a lot of us came into it for.
Yeah.
You know, because I was 8 years old, and it says for 10 and above, and that was, and that was what 1982.
1981, I think, is when the first advanced came out. I
It
think
came in
so.
1982.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of us were. So to be fair on this, you found the modules for AD&D and B and the BX stuff. We got the box set, which and people ignore this fact, but BX outsold first and second edition combined, which people ignore. But and when you start bringing this in and I also want to bring up that most of us either had to learn it on our own, or we learned it from someone else who pretty much ignored a lot of the rules too, because they didn't read everything. And so there's a lot of the way that the game is spelled out versus the way people played at the table were two very different things. Which I think, like I said, it's like playing Shadow and Sun's AD&D game. There are so many rules. I'm like, okay, you ignore this. Well, you ignored this. That isn't the way that it actually says that you're supposed to be running this combat.
I will also point out that I've heard from EOTB say that, like, we were 12 and we understood this. I'm like, I'm being like, I'm paraphrasing a lot, but he basically what he was saying is that we got it very quickly, and I'm like, dude, I don't believe you.
No. I'm gonna say is everyone played AD&D and got it wrong, including Gygax, because no one played with all of the rules. I mean,
Gygax didn't.
Like I said, Luke said his father didn't play with some of this stuff, but it was in there if you wanted to use it. In fact, they had the combat calculator from old Dragon magazine, but John said he didn't have Dragon magazine, or if it was, he just didn't pick it up, where you could get this. And Sage Advice, which came in, which was supposed to be kind of your errata, which was your, which they now call like Unearthed Arcana 5th edition, that stuff that you can find online. You couldn't find that online. And if you didn't have it at the correct time, you would miss some of the corrections to the rules. Like I said, but that's where they were doing it. And what I really felt, and I've seen this done in other books, is, and I'm not talking about 5th edition, which is a whole other mess for their player's handbook. But, well, the problem with 5th edition is they would change the rules, but not tell you what they changed. And so if you had the 5th printing versus the 19th printing, your rules were a lot of your rules were very different.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is what they should have done is they should have put an errata page in there, 1 or 2 sheets, and said, hey, these are the things that we corrected on such and such page, which is what they used to do when I was
but Ullman, you forget that would cost more money.
all things cost more money. The point being is that and we're not talking about how
what about Dragon Magazine and all the advice that came at periodic times throughout Dragon Magazine that people would assimilate?
Well, no. Oh, I'm not even getting into that. So what I was saying is that a lot of people didn't have Dragon Magazine, but either didn't have access to it, which I think John said, he didn't have it where he was, or if you weren't near the shop. And the other point was, you couldn't get. It was really hard to find back issues. So you got it. If you didn't buy it that month, if it was a year or two old, you missed that entire part. That's what I was trying to mention. It's not that the Dragon Magazine wasn't there. It's just that it's not easily accessible for everyone, is what I'm really trying to say. It's not like nowadays.
It goes to show that people played this game completely different all over the world.
Absolutely.
I mean, even to speak on the mistakes that you were talking about, Ullman, that I think there was one fatal mistake in a printing of I don't know whether it was OD&D, like it was one of the 3. I don't remember. I think it might have been BX, where it was like a percentage of layer was changed by mistake to percentage of liar. And the West Coasters latched onto that, thinking that, oh, there's a chance that some of these guys might not be telling the truth, where if they realized that, like, how reaction rules work, or you could just say, monster disposition because they're your enemies, of course they would lie anyway. Like,
so from personal experience, again, being 8 years old, 8 to 10, we just assumed it was a typo. We saw typos all the time, not just in this book.
Yeah, but this was mostly the West Coasters that did this. This wasn't like the wargaming scene in the Midwest, or like in Indianapolis or in the Twin Cities. I'm talking about like in California, like where
No. I understand, but
yeah,
I think that a lot of that was as a joke, and it was taken, and then they started doing this. But I'm saying I played in Germany. When I did this, I was in Germany. So what we had was a bunch of kids. To be fair, we were all in primary school, or I guess what you want to call, we were all like 1st through 6th grade. I started playing, I guess, around 3rd grade. And what does the 3rd grader do? He's going to read it. He's going to cherry pick stuff, which we all did. And then we had the teenagers who were a different age group. They all played by themselves. And we were all in silos, basically. And so every game, it didn't matter where I was, because I moved around. Every game master was different. Whenever we got aggravated about a certain game master, this is how people became forever GMs. I don't like the way you're DMing. I'm going to run the game. And so a lot of us did that. All I'm really saying is, in this case, is when 2nd edition came out, it cleaned up a lot of the stuff. And I'm not disagreeing with John talking about for flavor. To me, the 2nd edition Dungeon Master's Guide is a better rule book. I didn't say it was better for flavor text. And to be fair on this, if you ever seen the print for 1st edition, it's like 8 font print, which means that that book tiny. In modern day was about 450 pages, which is a monster of a book. I mean, 256 was a monster then. So what did they do? They moved a lot of that stuff out into what they call the blue/black books. So you had the book on catacombs, and you had the book on castles, and the book on this. And I actually liked those. I actually did like those. But when I bought the book, I did feel for the 2nd edition Dungeon Master's Guide is that they had cut so much out that I felt that it was pretty empty. It was one of those things like, that's great if I just want to run this one thing, but you've taken out so much that I was getting used to. Now, when they brought those books back, I'm like, oh, okay. But I also felt that was kind of a cash grab. But to be fair,
that's what it sounds like. They split it up for the sake of.
Yeah, they weren't. I don't think they were doing it. I don't think they were doing it for the sake of making it easier on the reader. They were just doing it so they could monetize it more.
I'm going to bring up. Well, here's another part too. I'm sorry, Mappa. Is the binding was completely different. The binding in 2nd edition was much worse than 1st edition. At least the books I had. We're talking about the old covers and everything else. When I had those, my binding.
The binding started to go bad with Unearthed Arcana around 1985.
The binding for me was actually Monster Manual 2 when I have it, because it was completely, I think it was a different printer at that point. And I agree with you on that. Unearthed Arcana was the worst that I started noticing. But when 2nd edition came out, it was full color, which was unusual at the time. Remember, everything was black and white. So they really went and upped the production value. Oh, yeah. And that really set itself apart from a lot of the others. The other part was the font went from like 8 point, where at our age, I say our age, not your age, but John and my age, we're kind of like, look, I would like to have a bigger font to read.
Oh, I do too. I hate trying to read the First Ed. I have the Gygax Memorial version, and the font is tiny. I hate it. It's so squished. I can barely read the bloody thing.
Well, and my point for that is, you're going to have to remove stuff if you want a similar thickness of book. Because the 1st and the 2nd edition Dungeon Master's Guide had the same number of pages, but how much they squished it in there was very different. So so there is also a logistical thing, because I have books that are 400 or 500 pages with the binding. It's a hefty book, and those books right now, they're very expensive. But I'm just trying to say, not everything was just a cash grab, in my view, because the production values went way up. The cost was not that much more, considering the quality that you got. The blue box.
I think your Skyrim character is having a spasm now because he's looking straight up to the sky.
Don't worry. He sat there waiting to talk to this Daedric Prince or whatever he is. I've just contacted. But I'm going to say that's one of the best 1st edition books there is.
Which one?
What is?
The one I'm showing
Showing it on the stream, but
on my-
I'm sorry,
stream,
I have
right.
to. You can make me look at your stream there.
That's one
Oh,
of the
I'm
best
sorry.
first edition books there is.
One sec.
Which one is it? I can't see you. So
It's Osric. Osric.
Oh yeah. By the way, that's the thing. I'm actually. This is why I'm bringing a first ed on some levels, because I'm starting a joint first ed campaign, soon, and I am It's a little daunting. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm also excited to do it. You know. We're working on the world at the moment before we start like really tearing into it.
Osric was a really, really good version of first edition.
Yeah, I'm using the 3.0 version, the one that did the recent Kickstarter for. I also have the 2.2 version, the little like handheld booklet one.
I mean, I got the, what was his name? I forgot his name, but
Matt
the one
Finch.
that, Adventures Dark and Deep, was his, but I will say this much, and this is where the differences come down to it. It feels very similar to a first edition, but it lacks the polish that I'm expecting with my games. It's the layout. You really need to go back in another pass and fix a lot of the layouts and stuff like this. I'm not trying to knock it, but it is so jarring when you go from OSC and then even Axe and a lot of these others. And to be fair, we have 50 years and PDFs and everything. We actually have Adobe Acrobat. We can move things around, because back in the day it was cut and paste. And when I say cut and paste, it was get your scissors and tape everything down, and that's how you organized it. And then you put on a page, and then they scanned it in, kind of thing. Yeah, it was a whole different world for that, and I can give some forgiveness for it. But
yeah,
I think
look, this was, and it was also, let's be fair to Gygax as well. Let's be fair to him. He was really among the first to do this. So the lack of a layout is more forgivable.
Well, no. My point being is it's not. I'm blaming first edition for this. What I'm
Alright.
doing is I'm blaming later writers for doing this.
Oh, you mean
modern.
the retro clones and stuff, right? Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to. No, to be fair, Gygax was forging, and I say Gygax, but we're going to say TSR because he wasn't the only one working it.
Of course.
They were literally going forward into unknown territory, into a game realm that really did not exist as far as the mass market.
Yeah, and also they were writing it in a way that would appeal to war gamers on some level, because they would understand the terminology. Those who hadn't been steeped in the wargaming scene at the time would be like,
They were writing it for their peers in the hobby. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Which is why you got high Gygaxian, because a lot of them were either college educated or well educated. Let's be honest, you're dealing with people that are out of college, and so they're probably, and we're talking classical humanities, which has a lot of, and the same thing actually if you go read the old Warhammer stuff, up to when they still had Rick Priestley and stuff.
Fourth ed, basically.
When I say Warhammer, we're talking like first, second, third, 90s and before.
Right.
Where 90s and before, you can see very similar language. So when people talk about this stuff, and as a child, what did I do? I read it, and it vastly improved my vocabulary. And I do get mad when people are like, well, it's just like, there's a reason that when people used to say gatekeeping, it wasn't. If you wanted to play, and you just had a guy that was willing to sit there, like, here, you go play this game. Okay. But my real point for a lot of it is, I think second edition cleaned up a lot of the issues. I'm not disagreeing about you lost a lot of the flavor in second edition. To be fair, a lot of that also came back in their supplements. The Meztica, the Al-Qadim, the Dark, the Raven. The Assassin was not its own character class, and I honestly wish that they had just made everything very similar to what they did with BX. Guess what? When you hit a certain name level, which is kind of what they did in fifth edition, but I would have rather them hit name level and say, guess what? Now you can become a paladin because you have earned it. You don't start off as a paladin or a cavalier. And some of the classes they got rid of, like the barbarian. Barbarian disappeared.
To be fair, the assassin was never its own class, really.
It was
Like,
in. It was in AD.
In Zero E, it was, but it was basically by the time First Ed comes, like the only reason I say it wasn't in Zero E is because assassins didn't get their thief skills until 3rd level. In First Ed, I think they got them at 1st level like a thief, so they're basically just a thief variant.
It didn't specify in first edition whether they got them at 1st level or not.
I thought it did.
I don't remember it ever saying. I think it's one of the things.
I think it says that they get it at 2 levels below or something like that, which really means
Did they get over in I thought they changed that in First Ed. Did they not?
No.
No. What they said is you get it. Basically, you were treated as a thief 2 levels lower, but we didn't have a 0 level. Well, to be fair, you did get a 0 level character by the time that the Greyhawk supplement came out. But
Right. Well, then my apologies. I thought they did.
Anyway, I'm going to say, like, dissing and bigging up and whatever, that is one of the best monster books ever for D&D. And that's the second edition book. The Monstrous Manual for 2nd edition. It's fabulous book.
Well, the Monstrous Manual was to be, they collected a lot of the stuff together and put it into a book, which I liked. I like what they did with the 2nd edition, which took a lot of the stuff from, I don't know if you ever read it, was, I forgot, they always did is Elminster doing the ecology.
Yes, Elminster's ecology, yeah.
Yeah, and I always enjoyed reading those because it gave much more. Well, they started coding that by the time you went into there, and I was looking at some of it, which says, hey, this monster, this is the habitat, or this is how it reacts, which I did like. I will say, and this bugged me forever about 2nd edition. Your charisma gave a bonus to reaction rolls, but the reaction rolls actually went from 2 to 20, and the lower the roll it was, the better it was. It's like, wait a minute. So charisma, you had to realize you had to subtract your charisma from the reaction roll, which I thought was so stupid. I'm like, that should have been fixed. That's my complaint.
Yeah, that could have been more clearly stated.
Yeah.
I will say as well. I will say, just because General Nut said this in the chat about gatekeeping. Here's from what I understand, like gatekeeping did happen, just not at the way not at the time that everyone says. Like in the very early inception of the game, like it's kind of basically kids formulated into their own little cliques, right? People who didn't like nerd stuff naturally avoided it because it just didn't interest them. When those people started coming into the hobby, they were met with a lot of technical knowledge that they didn't get, and when they basically tried to force the change, the nativists, shall we say, gave a huge backlash and told them, no, we're not letting you do this.
I'm going to be a little bit different, which is, and again, this is when I was growing up. The gatekeeping was you played with your friends. That was the gatekeeping. And you're right. The barrier to entry was very high.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. This is why a lot of games did better in certain areas. But the barrier of entry.
That's why BX honestly sold better than First Ed. Let's just be honest. It's a simpler game.
Well, BX also wasn't
knock against it,
Well, BX was also
perspective as a very modern player. No one's ever kept me from anything. If anything, everyone's saying, "No, please play with me."
Yeah, that's the thing. We modern players are like, "Please, will you play in my game, please?"
Well, I'm saying even back in the day, trying to find players was like trying to find hen's teeth or in the needle in a haystack, because not that I was nerdy, but not that you were necessarily picked on, but it was like, you're doing that, and so you had your little clique. It wasn't. And when I say you're going to gatekeep, you gatekept it with your friends. If you weren't going to be friends with someone, and I played several games with people I did not really like, because we just had to have enough players.
Yeah.
And you're right.
What I mean is, like, you are correct in that you'd keep your friends, but there were like people at the hobby shop, so you did play with strangers. That's I'm talking about on a cultural, like metacultural level, on a higher level than just you and yours. I mean, this is just what the hobby did writ large. It enforced these kind of standards where you just follow the rules. That's just how it is. And
back in the 80s, I didn't find players through hobby shops or anything like that. It was
Yeah,
just
yes, I know, John. I'm not saying this is a universal. I'm saying this is a general. I understand that.
Well, no. We're just saying that you have to remember when we were coming up as kids, we were too young to get into generally the RPGA. Because I'm like, I can't afford to spend that every month.
Yeah.
That's what's part.
I thought you were saying there was like an age restriction, but then I forgot you actually had to. I forgot you had to pay money to get into the RPGA. I forgot about that.
Well, I'm not
People
trying
who
to knock.
made D&D, the people who made D&D were one generation older than the kids who picked it up in the 80s.
Yes. Yeah. At least one generation, possibly even two.
Yeah, but remember, D&D was made by boomers and picked up by Gen Xers, like writ large.
Yes.
Right. Well, and some of them were a little bit older.
That is probably true.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we're looking at it again. I'm looking at it from my age group. So when they talk about the gatekeeping, I'm like, look, as long as you weren't like really creepy, like if I didn't have my spider senses tingle, you were playing.
And even then, let's be honest, there was quite a contingent, not the majority, but a lot of people who kind of kept silent about the creepy guys because they didn't want to rock the boat. So even then,
Well, the problem was we wanted enough players. So I'm not saying that it didn't do that. But
unless it was so bad, like it was so obscene. But,
Well, that's
the
why
the creepy guy at the store is a prolific stereotype. There is a reason for this.
Well, I'm saying, but if my spider senses tingled, then that was different. But normally we're like, we don't, like, hey, you play D&D? Great. We're going to try doing this. But and again, and maybe it was just my players that I played with. We used every option, every rule we could find. And like I said, there were several people that I didn't even like I played with. The idea of gatekeeping that I want to say the millennials, which is the ones that were crapping on all this stuff, like, oh, those old.
Yeah.
Well, no one wants to play with you because you have a bad personality. It's not because of it. It's not because of immutable characteristics. It's because you haven't learned basic social skills. That's why no one wants to play with you.
You're just a douchebag. Let's just call a spade a spade. You're just a douchebag.
Well, and that's what.
Correct.
That's what
Correct.
But that's what I'm trying to say. Is when I start hearing this, and like Aman is talking about.
I'm not going to lie to you. I've gatekept John from certain video games, not because he's not good enough. It's just because I know he wouldn't enjoy it. I'm not going to let himself put himself through that.
That's fair.
And I'm not even calling that personal opinions. I'm not even calling that gatekeeping. My point is that this idea that if you were this, you could play the game. Well, first off, no one can stop you from buying the books. Not a single person. That's what really gets me about when they act like they're gatekeeping. No, you can't gate.
What they mean, Omen. It's not like sure. Again, kind of I would say like technically you can do this, right?
Sure.
But when they say they don't mean overt. No, you're not allowed to buy this. It's illegal. It's this kind of soft control, right? Where if you behave shittily enough to someone, you'll basically convince them to leave of their own volition, even though you were subtly coercing them. That's what they mean.
What I meant is that.
I'm not going to say that didn't happen, but I mean.
No, I'm saying that's what. No, I'm not saying that it did or did not happen. What I'm saying is when people talk about gatekeeping, these kind of like what we would call like social justice warriors or whatever.
This is what I would refer to. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what they mean. It's not the overt segregation. What it's talk about like. If you've seen like how like women bully, that's what they're talking about, where it's like subtle ostracization.
Okay, I'm going to put this up, which is the problem is that the people who were talking about this didn't live through it. That's what really gets me.
Of course, yeah.
And so
it's like the difference between being not allowed to play football because the guy who owns the football isn't your friend, or you're there playing football but no one will pass you the ball.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier on about the gatekeeping, is that there were people who came much later in the hobby's history and are retconning history to suit their narrative. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yes, there are. Yeah.
Well, and that's what we're trying to say. I'm trying to say, when I grew up, my big issue, and I don't think John had to deal with this. I had to deal with the satanic panic. I was in the South, and I got the weird look. And people talk about it. I said, look. and this is my view on this, and it's the same personalities. I don't care left or right. It's the same personalities that I had to deal with in the 1980s that I had to deal with around 2019, 2020, where they want to impose some kind of morality when I just want to do escapism and play a damn game. And and that's my whole point was we didn't gatekeep. We couldn't gatekeep really. Now, if you have a big group of friends, that's different. But it's awfully hard to gatekeep when you're like, we have 3 players. I mean, you have a dungeon master and 2 others. And for D&D, either you were playing multiple characters. So if we could get a 3rd person, we're like, awesome. And I don't know about how it was for John, but like, we got a woman. Awesome. That's fantastic. We have one. You know,
when we were 14, we didn't know how to talk to women. They were scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the side of this as well. But here's the thing as well, is that like you know, like how some people want to inject their politics into stuff and will get offended when you call them out, and they'll use it, but you do it too. I think what they don't understand is that when they meet a group of people that they've never been a part of, they have like certain jokes or certain talking points. Like you'll see a culture and what is acceptable. Some you'll notice like politics will crop up amongst these people. A shared religion will share a culture will be embedded, and when they basically want to inject their culture into this, there's going to be natural backlash, and then they misunderstand and treat it as a hypocrisy. And
I'm injecting my culture in here just by being brown. You are.
Whoa. And Amon, you have to realize
danger, Will Robinson, danger.
And this is where we talk about cultural differences.
Yeah.
You know, I had black friends playing with stuff. We weren't gatekeeping them because D&D gate kept itself by, again, only nerdy people who went there, who couldn't talk to girls, who were somewhat socially awkward. This was our escapism from, I hate saying, a lot of it was tedium. The tedium of going to school, we'd sit there and like, why am I here? You know, you're staring.
I was going to make the point. We've touched on it earlier, especially AD&D. AD&D was written by intelligent, literate people who understood maths, nerds, and it was designed to appeal to intelligent, literate, mathematically literate nerds, and those sort of people often have certain social issues because but those are things that weren't understood at the time. A lot of these things weren't understood at the time. They're a lot better understood now. But
it is beyond question as far as I'm concerned. It may not have been Gygax,
not even all
was
kids
definitely a
of that age would take to RPGs anyway.
Absolutely.
Not all kids are
absolutely.
I'm going to say as much. By the time we were coming up, I started playing as many different role-playing games as I could. I played Robotech. Why? Because we had the, we had the television cartoon, which was awesome, and we would go watch that. And I think that a lot of times when they're looking at stuff, they're, like you said, they're trying to project certain things, like why aren't there more of X in the hobby? And that, I think that was part of the issue, is they looked at the numbers and not the reason. Like I was listening to RPG Elite, which was very interesting because he was saying, why aren't there more black players? He said a lot of it was, and this has to do with the education system, is a lot of American blacks come through bad schools where they don't learn how to read or do math. And I'm good. And people may not like that, but go look at Maryland, like Baltimore, Maryland.
I've watched the same video. I was
just talking about Baltimore the other day.
I've watched the same. I've watched the same that same video, and he says also there's a lot of quite obsessive. You know, you were talking about the Satanic Panic. A lot of them have the same sort of religious beliefs as what would fester in the Satanic Panic.
Well, there's also the fact that let's just consider the fact that maybe just amongst this demographic, as a general rule, their temperament just doesn't align with this hobby. They just don't like it for whatever reason. Removing the religious angle or the cultural angle, they might just not like it. And that's perfectly fine.
Well, in general,
because there's more people who played it or didn't play it than played it. So that's absolutely true that not everybody's going to want it.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys an honest question?
Wait,
Yeah.
Omen, 1 sec.
Oh, you must lie to us. You can't be honest.
Right. How many other Asian people do you know that play role-playing games? Because I'm Asian, and I'm the only one I know.
I haven't met enough Asian people
I had
in my
a
life.
player on our
full
table
stop.
20 years ago who was Asian.
I
Given
have
the demographics in my country, I haven't
I've
known
met-
enough Asians. Full stop.
I've met in my life. I have met
Your whole
two
life.
others. In my whole life, I have met two others.
Yeah, so in your whole
So wait a minute. I'm
years of
gonna,
existence, you've met
wait.
3 role-playing Asians.
wait a minute. I'm going to bring this up.
Look at that.
Well,
Come
again,
on,
this
tell us in your opinion why you think there aren't more playing.
No. What I'm saying is when I was growing up, and again, this is where it's cultural, and I grew up around the military, about 40 to 50% of the children were half, because their mothers were usually Korean and their fathers were, American.
Yeah, they were the European diaspora, basically.
Yeah, but so when I hear this, to me, it's all cultural, which is, this is why it's not, I'm not going to bring anything else up. Don't get me wrong. The people who want to do physical games, they would look at us, because it's true, whether you're white, black, or anything else, the people who want to do the physicality stuff ran around and they did sports, which I didn't do for the most part. I was not that big. I was a slender kid. So they did that. Now, what I've been noticing, and this is where it becomes interesting, as the people's bodies are breaking down, those same guys that made fun of us when I was a child are now coming back and going, man, I always wanted to play, but I was afraid of being ostracized. I was afraid of being made fun of. And a lot of that was the social stigma aspect. But but to be fair on this, doesn't matter what it is, you have to do a lot of reading and you have to do a lot of math. And if your schools are terrible, you are not generally going to be playing. And for me, D&D was my way of both improving my vocabulary, keeping me interested for history. Part of the reason I probably became an engineer is because I did a lot of math. But it also improved my math skills a lot. Well, how do I do this? But if you're not getting, the reason I was bringing up Baltimore, Maryland in particular, was the kid, I don't think there's a single passing school, and maybe this has changed, but at least a few years ago, not a single one actually met their grade level. And I went, you can't, and if you're going to do... I was
just talking about this to Iman the other day. I was like, there's a high school, there are high schools in Baltimore that are graduating kids that can't do math level at grade level.
Yeah. And if you can't do at least up to, not that I learned, but if you can't do multiplication very quickly and you struggle at that aspect, D&D is the wrong game for you. Now, 5th edition simplified some stuff, and that's what I'm really trying to say is, it's like you were talking earlier, it does self-select from that point. And then by the time I hate saying this, by the time you got to high school, and a lot of kids could do this, if you didn't know how to talk to girls and you weren't athletic, that didn't leave too much of an out for you other than role-playing games.
In my generation,
the answer I expect to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
I was never exposed to role-playing games, but it was the same kind of cliques where you have the jocks, you have like that, you have that, and then you had the nerds. But we were all video gamers by that point.
Yes.
Well,
I've been exposed to D&D.
I do want to clarify something here. When Iman said how many Asian people, I know in America you think Asian is
Chinese, Japanese, Korean.
Oriental, basically. Oriental.
Asia is like the largest continent in the world, so it has a lot of different people on it. So Asia can mean several different things.
Hold on. In British vernacular, when we say Asian, we do not mean Chinese, Japanese, anywhere around there. We mean India, Pakistan, Bangladesh.
And I'm going to bring this up. In the U.S., we call Indians and not Asians.
Yeah.
So,
Right. We identify them by their country in that respect.
Yeah. I don't know what it is like.
Yeah, but then you would blanket China, Japan, etc. Or we would bracket them as Oriental, not Asian.
You know why we quote unquote do that? It's because we are being put into these categories in the United States on purpose by the people that run things. They are telling us to fill out forms that say, I am Asian, right? And so if you're Asian, you have to fill that out on a form. And
Well,
they have at work, in our professional life, we have in our corporations these things called affinity groups for Asian people, Black people, for this group or for that group. They've actually divided us out into categories that we did not choose to be categorized into. It affects everything here. It affects politics. It affects social life. It affects everything.
Whenever I apply for a job, it asks me my ethnicity and background.
Well, and to be fair, in the U.S., that's optional for you to put down. But the other part is, I understand that what I'm just taking from this is what I noticed when I was with my friends. And again, I grew up around the military. So the U.S. is approximately 13% Black. The military was approximately 20% Black. So we had, 1.5 times the representation. But I also noticed growing up is that my school focused a lot more on education. Whereas, like, I would hear all these problems with big cities like Chicago and Baltimore and stuff like this. And that's why I was trying to get down to, it depends on what schools you went to, because I hate saying this, there were plenty of rural schools that sucked, which was almost like 95% white, and those kids weren't playing D&D either. That's why I don't want to get too much into it. Really, that's why I was trying to mention RPG Elite, because he was mentioning it's the education, because the kids have to be at a high enough level, and it's awfully hard, at least from my standpoint. Okay,
that kind of leans into what I was saying earlier. Yeah. So the reason I asked you guys that question is because I don't know any Asians that play role-playing games, but I know
I will just say that
video
as well.
games.
Right?
But what side of Asia are we talking about, though?
South Asia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. Right. The reason that I asked that question is because I wanted to know if you guys had a different experience to me, because you guys were of a different generation. Some of you guys were in a different area.
Cool.
But it's where I was educated that made me the person that I am now, which made me interested in that type of stuff. If I'd have gone to a normal school, I probably would never have gotten into this kind of stuff, because I'd have had a different education, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I was more, should we say, more intellectually inclined rather than physically or anything like that.
Iman, would you say that the reasons that why Asian people in Britain don't play as much is for the same reasons why the people in America might not play as much?
I think it's a cultural / educational thing. Obviously, I'm of a decent level of education, above like your average, but not to degree level. But because of the things that I studied, math, science, psychology, I'm naturally interested in this kind of thing, right? I have like a predisposition towards it,
Yeah.
I'm less drawn towards, arts and literature and things like that. But when it comes to like the whole nerdy, number crunching and logical side of things, that's what draws me into gaming.
There are cultural attitudes towards education as well. Over here in Britain, the demographics that perform best in school tend to be children from Indian and Chinese sort of backgrounds, whereas the people from the most underperforming demographic at the moment are teenage white boys.
Right.
But that is closely followed by teenage Pakistani boys. And it is a cultural thing there. The highest performing are Chinese girls and I think Indian boys. I think those are the two highest performing. But again, that is cultural. So
that's all I was trying to say is you have a barrier of entry. It's the same
I went to a grammar school, John. You went to a grammar school. You understand?
I did. Yes.
Grammar schools are different to your average school.
They are. Yeah.
So because I had, that kind of hoity-toityness, rather than your average, high school, it was like I was more predisposed to doing things like this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than
Well-
things that were more, what should I say, less intellectually inclined.
I'm going to bring this up because you see the same thing, whether it's computer programming, not computer games, which have a really low. I mean, I can put a 7-year-old in front of a game and they can usually figure out how to play it.
Yeah, the barrier of entry is low, but the barrier of
Right.
mastery is high.
Right. But I meant from, let's be honest. It's awfully hard to tell. They're talking about this. It's awfully hard to tell a kid. By the way, you need to read 400 pages of books, which is really what which is what 1E was.
Yeah.
If you was 400, you need to read 400 pages of books, and if you don't, you still need to read at least this. And most of us never read the full books, to be fair. But where the BX came in, that was 64 pages. It was better laid out, and that's why I think it did so well. What was the age group for that? It was aimed at 10 plus, is what it says, 10 plus. And it was meant for a smaller group of players. If you start reading the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and you read the tournament modules, that was intended for 6 to 8 players. But when you read the introductory modules for, we're not, so like U1, doesn't it require like 6 to 8 players, John? I think
Something
that was
like
the
that. Yeah.
But if you go read B1, it says 2 to 3 players. It gave a different. It's not that you couldn't use one. It's not that you couldn't swap the two, but the expectations were different for that. And that's what I was trying to say is, it really lowered the barrier of entry. And people are like, well, I could figure it out. And my answer is, you still played the game wrong. You still play the game wrong to this day. So what did people get into? They wanted to play. Like you said, the expectation with the original Blue Box for basic was, hey, you
Red
didn't
Box.
do this. No, Blue Box, the one in 77. The original point of Blue Box was to get players, and that was what Professor Holmes, he wanted to get the players to get into the white box, but he said, well, this is a higher barrier of entry. Let me start something very simple. And I did like watching Daddy Roll to One, and he said, why did they have different editions? And some of those editions were just to make it so people understood how to do the rules. He said, when you
The
start getting
lowest barrier of entry of that series was the Mensa Red Box. That was the easiest one to get right in.
Exactly,
Yes, it was.
exactly.
Yes.
And but the rules weren't that different between, between basically the regular BX.
But the way that Mensa made the basic Red Box, though, he made it like a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the presentation of the rules. I think he nailed the presentation of the rules to make it as easy as possible.
But
Yeah. Even though, going to level 36 was in hindsight a mistake, and he even admitted it. That first box set was the best introduction to D&D that I've ever seen.
Yes.
well, this is why OSC has become so popular. This is why Mystara did so well for a long time. This is why people, when they talk about stuff, and for me, BX, the first module, B2, because B1 I didn't have. I could never find B1. It wasn't until, about 6 years ago where I was able to find a copy, when they did
Well,
the...
nowadays we can print on demand from
Yes.
Drive-Thru RPG and get almost not the best replica of it, especially not with the maps and pullouts, but you get a pretty good version from Drive-Thru. You're only getting a soft cover.
Well, no, I meant from Goodman Games. Goodman Games redid it. That's what I picked up. It has, but you're right. But but they put in all the different versions for at least the first book. But a lot of us, when we grew up with this, B2 is a great starter set for anyone. You've got the Caves of Chaos. You now have a base. You can expand out from there. And I think that really helped it out. I'm not disagreeing. I think we're all kind of agreeing with why people went in there.
Meanwhile, my introduction to D&D was John running the Caverns of Krampus.
Yep. Well, and
yes, I remember Krampus.
And a lot of us were doing this from OSE because it was matched very closely what we had before. You're also asking a lot
Especially for someone who has no idea what the fuck he's doing. To have like the most bare bones thing is probably a good way to start, right?
Well, that's true. And to be fair, as we're getting older, we're all in our well, okay. Those of us who grew up in the 80s are now in our 50s. They're like, don't make me have to memorize all the rules. You know, what's easy? What can I find? Hey, I need bigger font, okay? That's why I'm laughing at some of this. This is where OSC... Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's why I like Call of Cthulhu rules, because they're not necessarily simple or easy, but they're digestible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can read something, and I don't have to read it 3 times to make sense of it. I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed about Call of Cthulhu is that it draws more. I know it's sort of like a fictional fantasy setting, but it also draws so much more from real world and real history.
Oh,
A lot
God,
of
yeah,
us
and
are
Horror of the
already
Orient
trained in
Express.
history. Yeah, like
Horror
you
of the
have a
Orient Express,
reference
a lot of the
point for
NPCs were real
world
people.
history, right? We all do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even
Anyway.
and to be fair, 1920s is not my strong point. But
Well, none of us were there, so, you know.
None of us
Well,
were there, but it's interesting to read about, though.
no, what I meant is a lot of us, if we're studying history, are going back hundreds of years. And 1920 is enough where we still have some movies and photos, and we still have easily some architecture. It's
Yeah,
not
we have some
Yeah,
kind
we
of
have maps
realistic
of
idea what
locations.
time
We
was
have so much data on real world history.
Yeah, and they did a good job as far as fleshing out some of it. That's why I've noticed that now they're doing some certain settings. Like, I think that you have Cthulhu Dark Ages, and then you also have Cthulhu Gaslight. I think, John, what did you think of Cthulhu Gaslight, or whichever the London one?
I love it. I think it's really good. I think it's really, really good. They've done it really, really well. There's a few odds and ends in the book that I wish were there, but the whole flavour of it is excellent, and I will of course be running a Cthulhu Gaslight game live on my YouTube channel in September. So,
Oh, good for you. But you know, like when we were doing stuff with John, and we were doing the when we were doing the Renaissance, the French Revolution, the pre-revolution, the post-revolution.
Yeah, I ran the French Revolution stuff for you. Yeah.
Right. Well, what I did is while we were doing that, is like we were starting to look up all the history facts for it, because it is familiar enough. Yeah, it's an alternate history, but it's familiar enough, which actually I think is a big factor of why World of Darkness did so well in the 90s, was it really hit both the zeitgeist and it was familiar enough. Like, oh, I can do this. I'm just going to turn a little darker. You're like, all right. And you start seeing the weaving of some of the threads. And I think that's, like you said, there's a certain level of accessibility by not making it feel that it's completely different. Everyone, you know, I always laugh because the U.S. Hollywood version versus the British version of the Middle Ages the Dark Ages are so completely different. You know, when we say yours is very gritty and muddy and everything else, and ours tends to be the romanticized version of what the Middle Ages was like. And it's like, oh, well, they did this, and of course they did this. And I think something similar happened, you know, when we had Oriental Adventures, is those of us who grew up on Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa is much less flattering towards the Japanese culture than the Americans are towards the Japanese culture. I just thought that was funny, is because when you start watching his movies, but you read Oriental Adventures, there's two very, very different feel between the two of them.
Wait, sorry, I missed a bit. Whose movies?
Akira Kurosawa. He did the Seven Samurai.
Oh, okay, I've seen Seven Samurai. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's what I'm referring to. But if you watch his movies and then you pull the Oriental Adventures book out, you get a very different feel between the two. And it's, to be fair,
well, I mean, Kurosawa has his films really windy, you know. So.
well, yeah, but I mean, but it's a romanticized version of the way that we wanted it to be back then.
Yeah,
and
I
I think
the way that we envision it to be, of course.
Yes. And now as I get older, I kind of like the grittier stuff. I do. It's just like, oh, well, this is what it did, and this is what you're talking about. I'm going to mention one other thing, which we're going to talk about deities and demigods and stuff like this. And not that people use that often, but I've been rereading. I say reading. I never read the Iliad, but I've been starting to listen to the Iliad, and you start realizing, not in just the Greek culture, but all the cultures, just how prevalent the gods were. They were like just a breath away from directly involving themselves in the world. And the way we do it, of course, is very sword and sandals. Hey, they're kind of hands off. Crom gave you everything he needed, and if you beg for his help, then you're a weakling and he'll punish you. That's kind of the way it felt in some ways. But when you actually go back through the history, oh, well, I'm going to pray to this god and they're going to help me out. And they may physically manifest to help me out, right? Physically, but they may manifest and say, oh, well, this is because of this. Like blade barrier. Well, what is blade barrier? Oh, well, the god has come down himself and is spinning the blades as he goes through, cutting your opponents to shreds. But we don't think of it that way a lot of times, but that's the way it probably should be thought of.
Anyway, I do want to wrap up the stream because I have been going a little bit longer than expected. I do want to just mention, General Nut has just mentioned that he remembers when Omanal, you pulled the hood down in the French Revolution one. Which revealed a head facing backwards.
Yes, yep. I learned that the hard way. Yep.
Yeah. But no, before I finish the stream, I do have to quickly finish this little interaction I've got on.
Yeah, which has been on screen for like an hour and a half.
It probably has, yes, it has, because we were playing Skyrim, but Skyrim got forgotten because we all started yapping. But that's absolutely fine, So I'm just going to do this interaction, and then I'm going to finish the stream because I do have to go to bed. We're long past pumpkin hour.
Indeed.
But let me just hang on a moment, and I'm just going to do this.
I have watched you for some time, The decisions you've made intrigue me. And I wonder if you are the proper agent for a task of mine.
Well, what task?
I sent a blessing to Mundus, a wasting plague that infected a scattering.
Speaking of gods,
villages. One of my monks, the elf Orchendor, was sent to gather these afflicted. He shepherded them into Bathardums for me, but has since lost his way. I will not stand for betrayal. I want you to go to Bathardums and kill Orchendor in my name.
Okay.
Why does he deserve to die?
Why does he deserve to die?
An impertinent question. The elf must die. Either carry out my will or do not. You are not the only mortal agent I could choose.
So don't think you are special.
And then what would I gain from this? You're not going to do that one?
Heaviness of mortals. I had almost forgotten. I can grant you a powerful token for this task. An escutcheon of Dwemer make, capable of shielding you from both the spell and sword.
Okay, so he's going to give me a shield.
Return when the elf lies dead, and it will be yours.
Okay.
All right, that sounds worth it.
You have, mortal. Go now. Kill Orchendor.
Okay, with that done, I can now save the game. Right. Thank you, fellas, for popping in and joining me tonight. I do have a bed to go to.
All right, well, have a good night.
Thank you all. Thank you, Iman, Brian, DK, Omanal. Thank you, chat. Thank you for putting up with all of our nonsense as we were blethering on about stuff we know about good old D&D. We had lots of interesting topics there, I think. But I'm going to head off because I do have bed to go to.
Good night, John.
Good night. Good night, Nutty.
Night.
All this arguing about D&D, I had to get in here for real life. Scream at you people.
Right, I'm gonna head off. Right, let's stop the stream.